Okay, folks, we are back. This is episode 12 of Street to Strategy. I just want to, again, thank everybody for the support. I want to let you guys know that my book is now out on Amazon. It's called Welcome to the Show That Never Ends. It's paperback. Pick yourself up a copy. It actually comes out on January 6th, which is my birthday and my anniversary. So, but yeah, grab yourself a copy, good read. And then I'm already writing my second book, and that'll be out in June. Let's introduce today's guest. Today's guest was born in Riverside, California, and raised among the fields, hard work, and close-knit values of Selma, an agricultural community that taught him early the meaning of responsibility, service, and belonging. Even as a teenager, he felt the quiet pull of public service. At just 16 years old, he took his first true step toward that calling when he joined the Kingsburg Police Department's Explorer program. What began as a youthful curiosity quickly became a lifelong purpose. At 17, and still in high school, and with his mother's blessing, he raised his right hand, enlisted in the California Army National Guard as a military police officer. For 6 years, the Guard forged his discipline, sharpened his character, and deepened his sense of duty. It was during those years that his commitment to law enforcement became unshakable. After graduation, he continued serving his community as a dispatcher for the Kingsburg Police Department, learning the heartbeat of emergency response from behind the radio. He later moved to the Tulare County Sheriff's Office as a cadet, once again working in dispatch while still under the age requirement. Every call, every voice over the airwaves, every moment of controlled chaos prepared him for what was to come. In July of 1988, at just 20 years old, he entered the California Highway Patrol Academy on December 1st, 1988. He graduated, proud, prepared, and ready to serve. 2 days later, he married his wife, his partner in life for the last 37 years. Together, they built a family, raised 2 children, and today are blessed with 2 grandchildren, their greatest legacy. His first assignment took him to Ventura, then to Bakersfield, and finally to Visalia, where he would spend most of his career. Patrol work became his foundation, but service in law enforcement gave him far more than a badge and uniform. He became a certified department instructor, teaching future officers in the CHP Academy and providing EMT instruction and in-service training in community relations and parole and probation enforcement. In the mid-1990s, he served on the Central Division DUI enforcement team, helping safeguard the Central Valley from the dangers of impaired driving. In 1999, inspired by his own beginnings, he founded the Visalia Area CHP Explorer program. For more than 15 years, he had the honor of mentoring young men and women, guiding them toward careers in public safety and helping them believe in their own potential, just as someone believed in him. In 2006, he was appointed Public Information Officer for the Visalia CHP office, a role that allowed him to serve not only the department, but the entire community. Through leadership in the Explorer program, the creation of the Senior Volunteer Program, school safety initiatives, traffic safety education, and service on multiple county boards, he worked at the crossroads of public service, education, and community trust. He became the voice between the badge and the people, and it remains one of his most meaningful chapters of his career. Retirement did not mark the end of service. It simply changed its form. Today, he is the owner and operator of California Home Inspections and Pull Service, CHIPS, a licensed real estate agent, and continues to work part-time with the Tulare County Office of Education School Safety Office. The uniform may have changed, but the mission remains the same: to protect, to serve, and to build safer future for the next generations. From a small farming town to a lifelong in public service, his journey has become driven by duty, shaped by service, and anchored by family. This is a story of a calling answered and a promise kept. Ladies and gentlemen, let's welcome Scott Harris. Welcome to the show, brother.
Man, who's that guy? Holy smokes. Thank you, Jay. Thank you very much. I'm honored to be on your show. I've watched all the episodes, and it's an impressive opportunity to be here and be part of those folks that have come on board and told their story.
Well, I would tell you this, for the folks at home, before we even started, you've always been one of my favorite Highway Patrol guys. You know what? I can always remember every time I saw you, we always laughed. We always had a good time.
Oh, yeah.
We would always end up at the fair together. He was the public information officer, and me and the gang guys. We would be out there working the midway in 100-degree weather, and you'd be in there in the AC.
Work smarter, not harder, right?
But take us back to the very beginning. What was life like growing up in Selma after being born in Riverside?
Well, I was born in Riverside, but my parents separated so young that I was just a baby, and my mom made her way up this way because she had some friends. And, she remarried. I actually grew up on a farm for a little bit. I had a stepdad who had an asparagus farm, and I think that was where I started kind of learning hard work and perseverance, because he was just a humble guy who was just your everyday, easygoing farmer. And so I kind of picked up a lot of things from him, and then we moved to Selma. And Selma was a great place to grow up. We had a good life, and I enjoyed being in Selma, and went to school there and graduated from Selma High School. It was good times.
I would tell you this about farming, and I never did it, but to look at it, that will put something in you where a lot of people are like, I don't want to do this.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
Either don't want to do it, or it's a family thing, it's a calling, because it's always work. Always work.
Yes. And, we've talked about it on past episodes, man. I mean, driving by and watching people out there in 110-degree weather or out there when it's freezing. Mm-hmm. Man, God bless those folks, man.
Yes.
I mean,
our world wouldn't move if it wasn't for those folks.
Big time. Big time.
Yeah.
How did growing up in an agricultural community shape your work ethic and values?
It really goes back to, most of my friends, their families were involved in some type of agriculture. And so you hear the stories, of getting up early, going to work with their fathers, or just being on the farm and having chores and responsibilities. So you understand that, in order for you to get somewhere in life, you're going to have to work.
Oh, yeah.
And you're going to have to do something. Now, if you can do something that you enjoy, it's not necessarily work all the time.
Yeah.
So that's kind of what you strive for if you can.
Yeah. No, I get it, man. I mean, I think that kind of what pushes a lot of guys like us into what we ended up doing, Can you remember the first moment you felt drawn to law enforcement or public service?
So there were a couple of opportunities, or a couple incidents, I guess you could say. When I was 16, I was driving to Southern California to visit my dad. And, being a new driver, you're kind of a dumbass.
Oh, yeah.
And I did probably the most dumbass thing, which was pass right by a highway patrolman driving down. And back then, I think the 99 was like 55. So I was probably doing like 60. So he pulls me over, and he comes up to the window, and he asks for my stuff. And he just starts talking to me. And he says, hey, it looks like you're a brand new driver. And, I'm out here trying to make sure people are doing the right thing. And he says, I'm not going to give you a ticket, but in the future, if you see a highway patrolman on the highway or you see a police officer, don't pass them, especially if it's over the speed limit. That's not a very smart thing to do. And I was like, yes, sir, no problem. I won't do that again. And I just thought, man, that guy was cool. He didn't give me a ticket. And he could have very easily given me a ticket. And then probably I was like 17, maybe 18, and I was working as a camp counselor down in Southern California. And a group of us decided to go to Disneyland or one of those amusement parks. And it was in the evening, so we were going to go stay at someone's house and go the next day. And we're driving along, and I really don't know where I'm at, but there was another car behind me, the group of kids. And as we're cruising along, I noticed they're not there anymore. And so I pulled over and kind of waited, and they didn't show up. So I turned around and went back. Well, sure enough, they had missed the curve and crashed.
Oh, wow.
And rolled over.
Oh, wow.
Thankfully, they ended up being okay, but we're in the middle of nowhere. I'm in the middle of nowhere. I don't know where I'm at. Some people had stopped, but this was long before the days of cell phones. So some people had stopped and gone into a local, to a payphone and called. So eventually everyone in the world shows up, the fire and ambulance and the highway patrol. And they cart our friends off to the hospital, and there's 2 highway patrolmen, and they're like, hey, what can we do to help you guys? And I'm like, well, we don't know where we're at. We don't know where to go. And they were very professional, very kind. They understood that, we're just teenagers and we were scared. We didn't know what we were doing. So they told us where our friends were going to be and gave us information where the car and all those things were going to be. And I think it was at that point that I was like, man, these guys
I'd like to do.
These guys are great. They were so helpful. They weren't like, these guys that come in and just point their fingers at you and call you stupid. I said, I think I'd like to do something like that, And then that pretty much set me on my goal to try and get into law enforcement in some capacity. I didn't really understand exactly where and when at that time, but that's how I kind of got started.
And where the highway patrolman was that John Baker and
it was not Ponch and John. It wasn't Ponch and John, but that helped too, I think.
Yeah. Well, I would talking about that. So when Chips came out, I love that show.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, dude, me and my mom, we would watch that all the time.
Sure.
And that kind of planted the seed, but I had to go take that low road and do all that crazy stuff before I made it whack. But what did service look like in your family when you were growing up?
Oh my gosh! So my stepdad, name was Ed Peterson, and he served in World War II. He was in the Army, served in the Pacific Theater. Got a lot of medals, received the Purple Heart twice.
Oh, wow.
He got injured with some shrapnel, and he got shot in the ass. And that's how he told the story. When you would say, oh, you got injured, he goes, yep, I got shot in the ass because I was trying to run away and hide. And then my father, who was a Marine and served in the Pacific as well. And my father's story is interesting because my father was black. And at the time, just before World War II, there were no black men in the Marine Corps. And the president changed that when we got into the war, that he basically opened it up to black guys.
Okay.
So my dad and another 20,000 black guys were the first black Marines.
Oh, wow.
To join.
Okay.
And
that's actually a cool legacy, man.
It is.
Yeah.
It is. And you have to think back to those times. This is the mid-40s.
Different time.
And racism is huge.
Yes.
And yet here you are, a black man who's endured a variety of racism, I'm sure, yet you feel the call to support and fight for your country.
Yeah.
And you join the Marines, and it was all segregated. They didn't even go to Parris Island. They put together a different place for them to go because it was so segregated.
Oh, wow.
It was called Modford Point, North Carolina. And so all of them went there, trained, and were sent off to the Pacific. And of course, their duties were going to be, ancillary. They were going to be driving trucks and handling supplies. But, you're on an island with the enemy, and eventually you're going to get in a fight.
Oh, yeah.
And they all did, and they proved themselves over and over again. And in 2012, all of them received a congressional medal for their service.
Oh, wow.
And it was a big deal.
It is a big deal.
And my dad, being the stubborn guy he was living in Hawaii at the time, and he didn't want to go. He didn't want to go all the way to D.C. Well, they were like, nope, we're coming to you. So they went out to Hawaii. They had a big ceremony with all the Marines and presented him with his medal. So having seen all that, my stepdad had all these memorabilia on the wall. He had guns and things like that, and that kind of got me started towards the military and towards service. And then my dad was in the Department of Corrections way back in the 50s. This is back when they were still just guards. There was no such thing as correctional officers.
Yeah.
And I remember seeing, I was too young. I never saw him actually in uniform, but he had uniforms around the house when I would go visit, and I would see those things. And that's what kind of pointed me in that particular direction.
Yeah. Is your dad still alive?
No, unfortunately, they both passed away.
Okay.
A few times, but they lived to the ripe old age. Both of them lived to about 90.
Oh,
so,
awesome!
They had a great run.
Yeah. That's a good. We'll be lucky, bro, if we get there, man.
I agree, man. I agree.
Yeah.
We'll be lucky.
Looking back now, what early life lessons prepared you most for a career in uniform?
I remember a couple times where some people were having hard times at school. They were getting picked on. And I remember thinking, that's not really right. They're not doing anything wrong. Why are they being picked on by people? Because they were different, because they looked different, because they didn't conform to the standards. They weren't wearing the nice clothes. And I remember feeling a sense of what can I do to help? I couldn't do much at that time, but I always thought, that's what I want to do. I want to get involved, and I want to help, and I want to try and make a difference. Obviously, once you get into the career, you realize it's difficult to make a difference, but you can help those along the way.
For sure.
But that's definitely what kind of, again, having the idea that I want to be involved in law enforcement, seeing people being mistreated for no reason, I wanted to see if I could get involved and help.
When you were growing up, was there a lot of black people in Selma?
Not in Selma.
Okay.
Not a lot of black folks.
Okay.
Yeah.
Predominantly Hispanic?
Predominantly Hispanic.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, we had a few guys, but no, not a lot of black folks. So I can't say that I grew up with a lot of black people.
Yeah.
I had a couple friends, and that was really it.
Yeah.
Especially in Selma. And
well, plus it's a very small town.
It is a very small town. Yeah. And even though, I kind of would go back and forth between Selma and Kingsburg, not a lot of black folks.
Yeah, I could see that. How did you first learn about the Kingsburg Police Department Explorer Program?
I was taking a class in, I forget what it was called, but it was about police work. And back then, I think they have it nowadays too, but back then they had the Regional Occupational Training Program. And so you could go to different schools that were hosting different types of careers, and Kingsburg was hosting this police career.
Was Taylor the chief then?
Yes, he was back then. Yes, he was.
Okay.
And so I took this class, and the instructor was this old, crusty-ass LAPD retired guy. I mean, he personified Dragnet.
Yeah,
He did. That guy never smiled.
Yeah.
But he had a wealth of information. And he taught the class like kind of like you were in an academy.
Yeah.
He was very serious. But that's how, and in the class, there was a poster for the Kingsburg Police Explorers. And I was like, what's that about? And so I applied, and they picked me up.
Nice.
And that's how I got started with the Explorer program.
What was it like walking into that program at just 16 years old?
Well, you have no idea what you're getting yourself into.
You sure don't.
But I was excited, and so they kind of gathered myself and a few other people who'd applied. There was probably about 12 kids that applied around the same time, so we all started about the same time. And they put together a little academy, I guess you could call it. It was all classroom stuff. And they started teaching them, just the bare minimum about law enforcement and how to go on ride-alongs and how to conduct yourself. And we did a lot of uniform inspections and those types of things. And you'll know this name, Alan Dunn.
Oh, yeah.
Who was an officer in Kingsburg, was one of the instructors. And that's where I first met Alan back then.
Got it.
And so, yeah, once we got started, then they said, hey, we'll have meetings so often, and you come out and you go on ride-alongs and just learn about law enforcement and soak up as much as you can. And that way you can make a more informed decision as to if this is even something you even want to do.
Yeah.
And so once I was in, I was in.
Oh, yeah.
I enjoyed it, and then I kind of made my way through the little explorer ranks to a captain. And once I was in that position, I was able to put together our own trainings. And I started having people from various law enforcement agencies come and talk about their department and what they do. And one of them was a guy by the name of Jim Taylor, who was the PIO for the Fresno office. And he came down and he brought a videotape and showed the academy and all that went on. And I was like,
that's where I want to be.
That's where I want to go. That's what I want to do.
Yeah. Was there a moment early on when you realized this is what I want to do with the rest of my life?
Pretty much, again, that watching that video, talking to those officers, and then, being an explorer, you get to meet people along the way because you have interactions with officers from other agencies. And several times we interacted with the High Patrol, and I was like, man, I'd really like to be one of those guys. But I was never great in high school.
Yeah.
I got by, I graduated, but education was not my favorite thing. And I heard that their entrance exam was really tough. Well, things line up in your life to put you in a certain place. So when I graduated high school, I was an explorer. The Chief Taylor, says, hey, he says, I'd like to give you a job as a dispatcher. And I was like, yeah, great. I'll get East Maine. But he goes, but you got to go to school. I was like, oh, God, okay. I really didn't want to because I was like, I finally got out. I'm finally out of high school.
Yeah.
And at the time, in my mind, college was just another 4 years of high school.
Yeah.
But I said, okay, he says, you got to sign up at COS or Reedley College, whatever you want to do, and go to school full time, and I'll have you work graveyards. So I did. I worked graveyards, dispatch, and then I'd leave Kingsburg PD and I'd go to school here at COS. Well, luckily, one of the classes I took was like a bonehead English class. And I didn't really realize it at the time, but it was really teaching me the basics of how to write an essay. And that's what really, I think, helped me when it came time to take the test for the High Patrol.
Yeah. Yeah, because for the folks at home, I don't know if they did it back then, but now what gets a lot of people is they'll give you these couple of paragraphs, but they take out the key words.
Yeah.
And then you have to come up with those words that go in there.
Yep.
And I've had a lot of people that I know that it took it, and then they've called me and like, dude, I didn't pass. And, you know, and it's interesting enough because I took that. I took it back in 90. It would have been 95.
Oh, okay.
And, man, I did so well. And I got to the end, dude. They gave me the affirmative action, dude. It was a dagger to the heart, bro. I mean, dude. I was like, I mean, for years after that, dude, I would see like a highway patrol car, and dude, my heart would just sink, dude. I mean, but you know, you realize things happen for a reason.
They do,
right? And
they do.
I ended up where I was supposed to be.
Yeah,
but man, dude, I mean, you know, back then, and what I didn't realize it in hindsight now, what I realize is what did we just have? We just had all the OJ stuff and everything.
Yep.
And so it all lined up, and it was the perfect storm that put me in that. And so I understand now, but man, at the time, man, I remember when I got that letter, dude, I was like, I remember, dude, I started to cry because I put 2 years of my life
it takes a long time.
Trying to go through that. And when they gave me the thanks but no thanks letter, I was like, oh
that's
my
rough.
God.
Especially when you do well in the hiring process.
Yes, because I had gotten like 90 on my oral. Then they gave me 5 points for being a vet. So now I'm in the 95% rates, and I still don't get it. Dude.
That's rough.
Who were the mentors or officers who most influenced you during those Explorer years?
It would probably be Astro Hinojosa.
Okay.
Who is Sergeant Hinojosa's father from Tulare PD.
Oh, wow.
Yes.
And he worked for Kingsburg?
He worked for Kingsburg for a very long time. And he was the Explorer advisor. And he was a great mentor. You know, he was, I mean, his son might disagree, but to me, he was kind of a soft-spoken guy.
Yeah.
And, you know, he really kind of guided you along this journey, you know, answering questions. Alan was a great source of information. There was a couple other officers, like I can't remember their names at the time, but I did a lot of ride-alongs. I would be riding along constantly.
And you know what? I mean, I wish I would have done that when I was your age.
Yeah.
But you know what? It is, because it's invaluable.
It is.
Because, I mean, and I hate to say this, but every time I did a ride-along, I always learned what not to do.
Yeah, there's that too. There's that too. Oh, yeah.
And, you know, because I did a couple with the sheriff's office because I was working the jails, right? And I was trying to get to patrol, so I was doing ride-along. Dude, some of the guys they put me with, I was like, oh, my God, dude. Gosh, dude. I mean, what did that program teach you that still sticks with you today?
You know, I learned a lot of, you know, you learn a lot of the basics about being in law enforcement, and it gives you some of the intricacies that you need to know, at least to help you get you hired later on. But it really teaches you whether or not you want to do this.
Oh, yeah.
It really, really does, because if you have a good program and you have good officers and they show you as much as they can safely, you see a lot. And within a few months, you'll realize whether this is something you want to get into or not. And so it's a fantastic program. And for me, it solidified the fact that I did want to do it. But others, you know, they get into it, and after a little bit, they're like, you know what, I don't think I want to do what you guys do. Yeah. And so, yeah, the program really helps you decide if this is what you want to do, and it did for me.
And, you know, I mean, even our Explorer program here at Visalia, man, there's been some just phenomenal kids that came through, man. Yeah. And, you know, you just realize, and you know this, you could almost walk into an Explorer program and go, there's a future win. There's a future win.
Oh, yeah.
You know, and you can just see it because, and it's something that you see these kids, and you know when a kid is all in, then, you know, I mean, we've got some guys that were Explorers that are now cops, you know, and if that program hadn't existed, how different do you think your life might have been?
You know, I would have probably gone into a more full-time military career at that point. And maybe afterwards would have gone into law enforcement just because, you know, again, you don't have the insight that you do being in that program. And having already joined getting ready to join the military, having that idea that I wanted to do that, like my father, and stepfather, I'm sure I would have gone more. I would have gone full time and perhaps made that a lifetime career, or at least stayed for a while, and then because I did join and start doing military police, and I'm sure I would have kind of segued into civilian police work.
Yeah. What went into the decision to enlist in the National Guard at just 17, man? That's a pretty big decision at that age.
It was, obviously my stepfather, my father had that influence. Not that they said go do this, but just knowing what they did and how it turned out was a thought. And then, initially I had thought I'd join the Marines like my dad.
Yeah.
And then one day I was reading what they used to call back in the day the newspaper. And there was this listing for a job in the National Guard part-time. And I remember thinking, you know what, this might be a good idea to get involved in this National Guard thing and get some experience, and then I'll segue into the Marine Corps.
Yeah.
And it worked out very well. But once you go through boot camp one time,
yeah,
you really don't need to do it again. And to be a Marine, you have to go through Marine boot camp.
Oh, yeah.
And I was like, I'm good. I'm learning enough here. And by then, I was already starting to get into what I wanted to do as a civilian. But yeah, because of them, I'm pretty sure that had an influence as to me wanting to get into the military and serve. And because I was reading the paper one day, I found even found out what the National Guard was about in the first place.
Yeah. And you know what? I mean, anybody who serves in the military has my respect, because I tell you something, man. I served in the Navy. Mm-hmm. It's a sacrifice in a lot of ways.
It is.
And it's not all fun and games.
No.
I always tell people I joined the Navy to see the world and saw all of California.
Right?
Yeah. But
I think I wish we were like other places where everyone served at least for a little bit.
I agree with that 100%.
Yeah. I think it would do our nation a great service if everyone had to serve for a few years.
Yeah, you know what? I would say even just a couple years. Because it lets you know that freedom is not free.
No, it's not.
I'm very patriotic. I know you are too.
Yeah.
And there's something about people that serve, whether it's law enforcement or military or guys like us who did both. Mm-hmm. That's something that's printed on you for life until the day you die. And, I'm very big, like if I go to any sporting event, man, the National Guard plays, man, man, I stand at attention, bro.
Oh, yeah, I do too.
I mean, it's something that I take very serious. Yeah. And I know you do too, because if you haven't been there, like when I see people running around or goofing off when the national anthem's played, man,
it's very disrespectful.
It is. It's so disrespectful to our country. And so anybody who's served in the military, I know this, it ain't easy, and it's not all fun and games.
No, it's not.
And, I don't know about you, but I only thought about quitting about 100 or 200 times while I was serving, and and I can guarantee this. Yeah. We got similar stories, right?
Oh, yeah.
How did your mother react when you told her that you wanted to enlist?
Ironically, I think it was my stepdad that was more concerned than my mom.
Yeah, because he had already been there.
He'd been there, so he kind of knew where this could go. And I shouldn't say that she wasn't concerned, because my mom grew up. My mom was English, and she grew up in London. She was probably about 4 or 5 during World War II, so she experienced what it's like to be on that side of things. I always reference, if people remember the book, The Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe.
Yes.
Well, that's her story. She was one of those kids that got put on a train and sent to the countryside to avoid the bombings, and stayed at various places throughout the countryside during the war.
Wow.
Yeah. So when the first time I read that book, I'm like, this seems familiar. Where have I heard this story before? And that was her. So she understood the issues, but my stepdad was definitely more concerned about me joining, especially as a 17-year-old. But my parents were the types that were like, if this is what you really think you want to do, go give it a shot.
Did your mom have a British accent, mate?
She did.
Right.
She
I
did.
love it.
Yeah,
I love it.
She
right.
Did. She lost a little bit of it over the years.
Over time.
Because my mom was mid-30s by the time she had me, and she'd been here since she was in her early 20s.
Got it.
But yeah, she definitely still had an accent the first time you met her, and there were certain words that she would use and phrases that were definitely English.
Got it. What was the biggest culture shock going from high school to military training? The yelling and screaming
is what first hits you when you get there.
Oh yeah.
You know, and not even when you first get there, because when I first got there, you're kind of in a holding pattern until your whatever.
Oh yeah, your company.
You're gonna be in,
yeah. Until they class up.
So you're kind of in a holding pattern, and the people that are around you, although it's a training facility, they're not drill instructors, they're not brown hats. It's not until the bus picks you up and they take you out there that you come face to face with an actual drill instructor.
Where'd you go to boot camp?
I went to Fort Benning, Georgia.
Okay, and everybody who served in the military knows what this feeling's like. You land, you get on that bus from the airport to the facility. Mm-hmm. I don't know about you. You could have heard a pin drop.
Oh, yeah.
Nobody said a word.
No one says a word.
Yeah, because everybody knows this. Here it comes. It's coming.
Something's coming.
And I remember right when we pulled in, my drill instructor jumped on there. Biggest Filipino guy I've ever seen in my life, man. I'll never forget. His last name was Pabalinas. He got on there and screamed, "Everybody off of this bus." Mm-hmm. And you're just running and scrambling. Funny story. The night I get to boot camp, we're standing there and we have to put our feet in they have like duck prints, right?
Yeah.
And I'm standing there and I hear this blood-curdling scream, and this cadet comes running out of this building. He's just slit his wrist. And I remember thinking, what the hell have I done?
Yeah.
But you know what? It's so weird. I could laugh about it now.
Of course.
But I will tell you this. I am so glad I did that.
I am too.
I am too. The people I met, one of my best friends to this day lives in Florida, and we met because of the Navy.
Yeah.
And, and I got buddies scattered all over the United States that I served with.
Yeah.
And so that in itself was worth it.
Yeah.
How did military police service differ from what you expected? Were you doing a lot of main gate duty? Or?
I did a lot of gate duty. It's the National Guard, so it's not full time. It's weekends.
Yeah, so you were drilling on the weekends.
Yeah, drilling on the weekends, and then several weeks in the summers and stuff. We'd go off to different bases around the country, which was probably the best part, because usually when you went to the bases, you would hook up with the regular Army MPs, and then you would work patrol and whatnot. And the problem is that when you're dealing with officers from an enforcement side, you have to address things much differently. You just can't tell them, get out of the car and do this and do that.
Yeah.
You're still saying
there's a hierarchy.
There's a hierarchy.
Yes.
Yeah. So even you still have to do your job, but you have to act a little bit. You have to act accordingly, because this individual is an officer, so you can't. And by officer, I'm talking about captains, lieutenants, and colonels, and majors, those types of things. So that's a lot different from being a civilian police officer.
Oh yeah.
And then just dealing with the knuckleheads in the military.
Oh, there's always something.
And they're always the ones doing something they shouldn't be doing.
I will tell you something that, funny story. I was in during the Clinton administration. Okay. And so I was stationed at Alameda.
Yeah.
Well, Bill Clinton comes and they land, and who doesn't want to see Air Force One,
sure.
right?
Yeah.
And so we're 5 football fields away from Air Force One, but we all go out there because we want to look at this plane, right? Mm-hmm. Well, somehow, some way, somewhere, I worked on jets, but I look out the window and Air Force One is taxiing by our squadron. Well, me and about 5 guys go running out there because, again, now we're watching Air Force One.
Yeah.
And my master chief ran up and he goes, "You stupid idiots." And I was like, "Well, what's going on, Master Chief?" He goes, "Turn around." And there's like 6 snipers up on this building, dude, pointing 308s at us, right?
Yeah.
He goes, "Get into the building now." And so we went in there. Dude, we got yelled at. He was like, and I was like, "Master Chief," I was like, "I just wanted to see Air Force Ones." He goes, "Stay in the damn building next time." He's like, because he goes, "Think about this, Jay. What if you guys would have ran at that plane?" Mm-hmm. He goes, "You probably would have got dropped."
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But it's, so that's always my Air Force One story. What did 6 years in the Guard teach you about leadership, discipline, and responsibility?
You learn really quickly that when you're told to do something, that's what you need to go do.
Oh yeah.
You know, you get an order, and you learn the biggest thing is that the mission is the most important part of what you're doing. It's not necessary to the individual, but they tell you that this is what needs to happen, and you have to make that happen. And you take that with you later on. You know, when you're said, hey, we've got to do X, Y, and Z, that's what you go do.
Yes.
You know, you don't get a chance to question. You don't kind of hum and haw. This is what we're doing. This is what needs to get done.
It's not a democracy.
It's not a democracy.
Yeah. You don't get a vote. You don't get a say.
Do what you're told.
Yes.
And that's what I remember learning the most is do what you're told, period. And then later on, if you have an issue with it, you can bring it up if you want to. But at the moment, it's get the job done, and we'll worry about the rest later.
Well, it's just like, Forrest Gump. He's like, Gump, what is your sole mission in this army? To do whatever you tell me to do, drill sergeant. And that's just it. You know, there was something about guys like us that went in there and kept our nose clean. Mm-hmm. And it's like, hey, if they told me to do this, I just went and did it, and did it to your best abilities and move on. But we both saw a lot of people in there. I saw a lot of guys get kicked out, and
very resistant.
And you're just like, I look back on those times and I just think you could almost see the guys in boot camp where you're like, oh no, this guy's not going to cut it.
Yeah, going to have a hard time.
Were there moments during that time that nearly broke or absolutely shaped you?
Thankfully, there wasn't anything that broke me. Boot camp was probably the harshest thing, but I knew, I make a joke with a lot of people, especially when I'm talking to them about being in the military. I go, look, you can do it. You can do it. It's going to be hard.
Yeah.
People are going to yell at you. You're going to be tired and dirty, and you're going to miss home or whatnot, but you can do it. If you remember this simple thing, they got to feed you.
Yeah.
So no matter what they're doing to you, at some point, they're going to stop. Yep. And they're going to feed you. Now, they might go back to whatever it was they were doing.
yeah.
But at least you'll get a break to eat, and then you can move on. And that's how I got through it. I remember when they were making us roll around in the dirt and dig foxholes and yelling and screaming, I was like, okay, it's almost noon, so they're going to stop, and we're going to go eat. That's how I did it.
Yeah. You know what's so funny, man? My first night at boot camp, I'll never forget this. This guy runs up to me and he goes, hey, man, can you switch me bunks? And I was like, yeah, man, what's up? And he's like, hey, man, he's like, I can't sleep to a black next to somebody that's black. And I go, why? And he was like, this guy was from Missouri or somewhere, right?
Yeah.
And population, 700 people or something. Mm-hmm. And he goes, hey, man, do you have a problem? And I go, no, man. I go, where are you from? I go, I'm from California. So that's a really plus for us because guess what? California is such a melting pot that we don't really care what color somebody is. As long as they're cool, then I'm cool with it.
Yeah.
And that's when you start to realize, talking to some of these guys that were from deep South, Mississippi, Alabama.
Yes.
Hey, man, racism was alive and well, man.
It was.
And, but it was funny. I got along with all the black guys in my company because guess what? I was from California. I didn't trip off of skin. A lot of those dudes did.
Yeah.
And, that just kind of makes you think, wow, man. I mean, there's a real plus side, I think, to growing up in California.
There really is.
How did your military service influence the way you later worked as a police officer?
Well, like we were just saying, you have, for lack of better words, you have a mission, and they're telling you this is what we're trying to do, and that's what you go out and do.
Yeah.
You focus on what needs to be done to get the job done, because that's what they expect you to do in the military. Whatever the job is, you're going to focus on doing that and get it done. And the same thing applies when you come out here.
Yeah.
Whether it's writing a ticket or going after somebody you need to arrest, whatever, those are the things you have to do, and you got to get that job done. And so that's what the military, and then the discipline as well. The discipline, being on time, which seems to be a huge problem for so many people nowadays. You don't do that in the military,
Dude, you're so right. I will tell you this, man. I will never forget this. I was at, Vice APD. Our gas pumps are right outside our back door.
Yeah.
And and so when somebody gets canned, they walk out that back door and they got a uniform on, but they don't got a badge or a gun. So you know what just happened, right?
Yeah.
And I'll never forget, man, this young kid, I think I didn't even hardly know this kid, but I went, hey kid, come here. And he walked up to me and I go, what happened, bro? And he was like, dude, they just fired me. And I was like, what? And he's like, I was late like 6 times this last month. And I was like, how did that happen, bro? And he was like, I have sleep apnea and I can't get past. I go, dude, for a job like this, you've set 15 alarm clocks.
Yeah.
You do whatever you got to do.
Yeah.
But you're so right. It's like for me and you, early is on time is late.
Yep.
And
100%.
you know, nobody ever had to worry like, hey, when I was working swings, you know, I got there 15 minutes early, bro.
Yeah.
And it shows when you care.
Yeah.
And it shows when you don't care.
Yep.
And if you show up late, especially in law enforcement, it can cost lives.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
It's very important.
Because now everyone's going out without that extra person. And, but like right now when you said seems to be a problem, I see a lot of these kids, they just got this real like, oh man, I was only 10 minutes late.
Yeah,
and I'm like, hey dude, if you want to be a cop, there's no such thing as being late.
If you want to be a respectable individual,
period. No,
don't
you're
be
right.
late. Don't be late.
No,
Be
I agree.
on time. Someone has set a time to do something and they've planned ahead and they're ready to go. You showing up late is disrespectful.
Big time.
Disrespectful and inconsiderate. Show up on time.
Well, especially, you know, it's like, you know, Vice APD. I mean, we pay good money. We don't pay highway patrol money.
Yeah, but still.
But I would tell you something. For somebody to go through all that training and can't get to work on time, it used to shock me.
Yeah.
Because I would be like, dude, we just gave you $100,000 a year job. And where we live, you can live pretty damn good off of that.
Sure can.
And I'm like, and you're telling me you can't make it to work on time?
Right? Yeah.
Right. What was your first day like working as a dispatcher?
Oh, well, Kingsburg was pretty slow.
Yeah.
So it wasn't.
And a given shift, how many calls for service will guys go into?
So I worked graveyards the whole time for a year. I worked graveyards for a year. Oh, you know, we might have maybe
half a dozen,
maybe a dozen. And those were usually, back then, barking dog calls. It was very slow. Usually there was a sergeant and maybe one officer, probably a reserve. So it was pretty slow. So it was slow enough that I had the time to start to try and learn how to be a dispatcher. I mean, I had a training, but you know, just sitting there by yourself is a different story. But it was slow enough that I could keep at the pace, and I had to type reports too, because you work as the secretary, and I can't type.
Yeah.
So that's what I spent most of my time doing was typing and then retyping and then maybe retyping these reports. It wasn't until I went to Tulare County that it was a rude awakening. Yeah, because
that's a busy.
They were running and gunning constantly, and so when you're working the radio, you know you've got maybe 5, 6, 7, 8, 10 guys. If you work day shift, oh my God, then you had all the detectives and all the special units, and so it was a shock, you know. And
I remember when I was working gang task force, somebody told me at any given moment you have 10 deputies.
Yeah.
And Tulare County is 550 square miles.
Yes.
That's not a lot.
That's not a lot of people.
Yeah, right. No. And, you know, God forbid you get somebody that asks for help right now.
Yes.
They're waiting 20 minutes for some backup, you know.
Yeah.
But no, you know what? I can tell you this. I would think being a dispatcher prepared you down the road.
Oh, it did.
I mean, it's got to be a plus, because I can tell you this. A good dispatcher, you know, Stoney was the first person who said it. He's like, there are dispatchers that are leaders, and they're so true at that, man. I learned a lot from the dispatchers.
Oh, yeah.
You know what I mean?
Dispatcher, you know, you've got those organizational skills. You can multitask, you know, because you're typing and talking and looking stuff up. It teaches you a lot of those things, which can go into later on when you're working as an officer and doing a whole bunch of things at one time, too.
Yeah. What is something the public doesn't understand about how stressful dispatch work really is?
I mean, nowadays they've seen some shows that show it, so they may be a little more aware. But it's when you answer the phone and someone desperately needs help.
Yeah.
Because something very, very bad is happening, and you have to remain calm and try and get that information from them. But at the same time, you realize it's probably not going to go very well, because it's going to take a few minutes for someone to get there. You know. Yeah. That's difficult, you know, when it's a young person, they're screaming and yelling, someone's in their house, they're getting beat up, they're hurt, they're shot or stabbed. To not allow your emotions to get involved in that phone call, that's probably the hardest part of being a dispatcher. Or if something happens to one of your officers when you're working the radio and you're just sitting there and you can't do anything more than get help to them, that's difficult.
Yeah. I would say something, man. There's a couple calls that I remember the dispatcher coming over the radio, and I could hear the stress in her voice as she's dispatching me to something.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And, because after years of working with people, when somebody's like,
Yeah.
hey, this is a chill call, or, we need you now, right? And, and it's interesting because, in fact, we just had one of our dispatchers that just retired, and I went to her retirement in Kingsburg.
Oh, okay.
And we're downtown Kingsburg, and I had never been to downtown Kingsburg.
It's nice.
Man, it's nice.
It's a nice little downtown.
But we were down there, and one of the dispatchers was there, and she was telling me how she has PTSD.
Oh, yeah.
Hey, from working dispatch.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
And and I could totally see it and understand it, because guess what? That job is not easy.
It isn't.
And
it is not
with
easy.
Visaya, and I don't know if it's like this everywhere, but I can tell you this: they have a high turnover rate.
Yeah,
it's very hard to keep people.
It's a high stress job.
It is, and and then again, it's just like in law enforcement. Not everybody's made to be a cop,
not at all.
but not everybody's made to be
Not
a
at
dispatcher.
all, no.
How did it feel being the lifeline for officers in moments of danger?
Just like we were saying, it's stressful because you're their lifeline. They, especially back in the day when we didn't have cell phones and all those types of things.
Yeah.
You're it. And if they need something, you're the one getting it to them as quickly as you can. So again, you become as involved in the situation in a room as they are out there on the streets.
Yeah.
And it's hard.
Yeah.
It's hard, especially if it doesn't go well, because then you feel that sense of guilt. What more could I have done to have helped? Could I have moved quicker? Could I have gotten the phone faster?
Yeah.
It's a tough spot to be in.
I always say this, officers, we have a say. The crook has a say, but Murphy's Law has a say.
Oh, yeah.
And, there's something about this. If it can go wrong, it will.
It will.
And, we've all had equipment go down when you need it the most, right?
Oh, yeah.
And do any specific radio calls still stay with you today?
You know what?
After such a long
It's
career,
been a long time.
it's probably tough.
Especially from the dispatch days. And I dispatched for Kingsburg for a year, and I dispatched for TCSO for about a year.
Got it.
But I really don't remember because it's been so long. I mean, that's almost 40 years ago.
Yeah, no, I get it.
And I don't remember half the calls or half the things that were going on at the time.
No, I get it. But you know what? It's funny, man. It's, I've only been gone for 5 years. Next month will be 5 years I've been retired. But what's interesting enough, man, is every now and then I'll wake up, and then this morning was one of them, where there's a couple calls, bro, that I don't know what it is. They'll flash before my eyes.
Oh, sure.
Right?
Sure,
And
yeah.
it's like, I was talking to my wife about it, and I was like, I don't know why this stuff does that, but I just I think I've just had to come to terms with, this is how it's going to be forever.
Sure.
Right?
And you're never going to forget.
No,
everything,
you don't. Especially, me and you have been in so many life and death situations. It's pathetic, but and then the amount of trauma that we've experienced and saw. But it is. It's like trying to keep a good attitude. I think for you were always just seemed laid back, and especially when you were the PIO, you always laughed. You always had a good attitude.
Yeah.
And I think that helped you, because I think that there was a lot of dudes out of that Visalia office, and I got to know most of the chippies there. I liked a lot of them, but there were a lot of those guys I didn't like because they were just so serious.
Yeah.
And they kind of looked like, if you're the patrol, you're here, and if you're Visalia PD, you're here, and if you're TCSO, you're here.
I know.
And it was like,
that, a little bit of that
and I would
certain
just be
guys.
like, come on, guys. You know what I mean?
Yeah, we're all here to do the same thing. You know? So, yeah, I agree. It's you see a lot, and if you allow it to get to you, you don't have a very long career or a very happy career. And not that we don't take what goes on serious, because obviously we do. That's why we're here.
Yeah.
But you have to have some kind of mechanism to deflect all the amount that you see. Most people are involved in death a couple times in their life. A relative
we
passes
saw,
away.
We saw it every day.
You see it all the time.
Yes.
And if you get emotionally invested in every one that you go to, you'll lose your mind.
Yeah. No, you know what? In fact, I remember, when I was training officers, I used to have to tell guys, look, dude, what we just went to, it sucked. There's no doubt about it. But get your shit together because tomorrow it's coming again. Right? And I'm like, we can't fall. You're right. You can't fall apart every time because you're right. It's and then also, I mean, I'm sure you've had to do this. I've had to sit some people down and go, "You're a great dude. This is not for you.
It's not for you."
And how did working dispatch make you a better officer later on the streets? I'm sure you were like enunciating.
Yes. Yeah.
And then also, I'm sure you were very cognizant because sometimes we can come across the air as being rude. It comes across as rude.
I would see and hear a lot of guys getting upset and angry at a dispatcher for whatever the reason was.
Yeah.
And I'm like, dude, it's not that easy, man. And everyone's new.
Yes.
And everyone has a learning curve. And so I always try to be as easygoing and respectful with the dispatcher, even when there was a point where it was like, come on.
Yeah.
Still, you just, it's different, and then guys who have never been in dispatch have no idea. They think, they answer the phone, they talk on the radio. Yeah, there's a lot more going on in there.
There is. You're taking calls, you're writing stuff down, you're in stuff. Well, now you're in and stuffing in a computer.
Yeah.
And then it's going to another dispatcher who may even need more update info.
Yeah.
And then you got the guys screaming on the radio. I mean, God bless any dispatcher that does it.
I agree because so it helped me that way. It helped me I talk on the radio as clear as possible. I remember being in the academy and having the ability to talk on the radio and do the pursuit training and whatnot. That made it easier.
Yes.
So having that ability and having those skills and the ability to talk and those sort of things, and then you have you've already learned the ability to speak with people about situations on the phone at least.
Yeah.
And that helps when you come out later on to talk to people as well too.
No, that makes sense. I was talking about pursuits. What people don't realize is when we're doing a pursuit, we're having to put out speeds, plates, directions, how much traffic there is.
Yes.
And then each time they turn, now you got to update it.
Again.
We're now southbound Mooney. Now we're westbound Caldwell. And each time they turn, the crook is just driving.
Yeah, they're just doing their thing.
We got to do all that other stuff. And I would tell you the first couple of times you get into a pursuit, it's like riding a bike, skipping, jumping rope, chewing bubble gum all at the same time because you got so much going on.
A lot going on, and you're trying not to crash.
What did you learn about human nature just from listening to people in crisis?
In many instances, people are very much focused on their own problem.
Oh, yeah.
Their own problem. And I'm not talking about the real serious ones where obviously it is a problem, but there are things that go on in people's lives that aren't nearly as bad as they think they are. But to them, it's the only problem in the world.
Yes.
And, as the dispatcher, you have to, kind of work through that with them. That this is going to be okay. It's not as bad as you think it is. But there's a lot of people that they're only interested in their own well-being.
Oh yeah,
and nothing else.
Well, also, I mean, this, and a lot of people don't. A lot of people misuse 911.
Oh my God!
And
yes.
It's like there was a guy here in town that I just think he loved to call 911 and pretty much heckle the dispatchers. So my boss calls me one day and he goes, Jay, I need you to fix this problem. And he goes, you do it every way you see fit, but I need this to stop. And I was like, Roger that. So I go out to this guy's house because he's called 911 again, and he lets us in. And I immediately hook him up. And he's like, what am I going to jail for? I go, misuse of 911. I go, you have called 911 6 times a day and there's no emergency here. I go, 911 is when your vehicle's rolled over and, gas is pouring all over you and you think it's going to blow. That's 911. Somebody pulls a knife or gun, that's 911. I go, what you're doing is not 911. And so I booked him. Well, then he came down and filed a formal complaint. And but this is
got
great.
Yourself in trouble again, didn't you?
Yeah. But they called me. I did my boss, the guy that did the No, it was so funny. He's like, why did you get dispatched there? I was like, he kept misusing 911. He's like, what did you do when he got there? I go, I booked him. He's like, all right, interview over. What do you remember most about that first day at the CHP Academy? Now, that's a high-stress academy.
Oh, it is.
And especially back in 88.
Yeah, it was.
They could probably still grab you and slap you around back then.
Almost.
Are you bothered by leg veins of any size? Or is leg swelling or pain bugging you or someone you know? I would recommend that you make an appointment with our friends at Sequoia Vein and Wound to take care of it. With a friendly bilingual staff and their years of experience, they are happy to help resolve those issues. Give them a call to get a consult at 559-713-6478 and tell them that Jay Mac sent you.
Well, having been in the military, it definitely made the first day easier on me than I could tell it was on a lot of people.
Yeah. Did you guys have to show up like in a suit?
Yeah, you showed up in a suit and with your goodies in your hand, and you lined up, and then they start yelling and screaming. Well, for me, that was no big deal.
Yeah.
I've been yelled and screamed at a lot already, because I was 20 and a half, so I've been in the military already, 3 years?
Yeah.
And so getting yelled at wasn't, so that part of it was not that bad. Of course, you're in some place you've never been before.
Yeah.
So there's that level of stress, and you want to succeed.
Oh yeah.
You want to do good, and so you want to do whatever it is they want you to do because you want them to keep you there. So there's that level of stress, but that's what usually gets everyone is the yelling and screaming and following directions. People have a hard time following directions. Well, again, I've been doing it for a while, so it's not that hard to listen to what this person is yelling at you and wants you to do and just go do it. Where other people are just, I think shook.
Civilians, a lot of them go into vapor lock.
Oh, they do. 100%.
Right, yeah. And so,
100%.
You know what? And vapor lock folks is where they just they don't want to move.
Yeah.
They don't want to move anywhere. They don't want to say anything. They don't want to do. They just lock up.
They know what to
and
do.
You cannot do that.
No,
and
no.
Did you go to the academy with anybody that you ended up inviting up? No. Okay.
No. When I took the test, I took it by myself. I was with a group of people, but there wasn't someone that I would signed up with. So I went there all by myself. So I drove up there by myself and walked in by myself, and it was just me and the world.
Was it 6 months long back then?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. 27 weeks.
Yeah. And do you remember what your pay was back then? What was a brand new highway patrol guy making back then?
Someone's gonna say, "Oh, he doesn't know what he's talking about," because I probably forgot. But I want to say it was about $3,000 a month.
Okay.
I think.
Okay.
I might be off a little bit, but they house you and feed you, so you don't have to. It doesn't cost you anything to be there.
Yeah.
So that was, and I think even back then, the Highway Patrol was one of the few, if not the only, live-in academy. I don't know if LAPD was still.
I was going to say LAPD. I think there's only 3 now. It's still LAPD, CHP, and then I think there's one down far south San Diego area. But I will tell you this. I remember that my background investigator for the Highway Patrol showed me this, this video about the Chippy Academy, and I was all, yes, I'm going next month. Didn't happen. What was the most physically or mentally demanding part of the academy for you? So
for me, so for those that don't know, the Highway Patrol Academy is much like boot camp and college all rolled into one.
Yes, it is.
You're doing PT in the morning. You're up about 4:35, and you go and do all the typical calisthenics, push-ups and sit-ups, and all kinds of rolling around on the ground. And then you run 2 or 3 miles, what have you. And then you change back into your cadet uniform. You have breakfast, and then you're basically in class from 8 to 5. So for me, the physical aspect was not that bad because I'm 20 years old.
Yeah,
so I'm in good shape.
Yeah.
So that wasn't too hard. The military aspect of it, the paramilitary aspect of it, the yelling and screaming, the uniform inspections and gun inspections and room inspections and all those things that go along with the military aspect of it, I had that down to a science. It was the academics that kicked my ass.
Yeah.
Because I was never a great student, and I didn't like school at that time. So for me, the academic side of it was by far the most difficult. I had to study constantly.
Yeah.
Constantly. Probably my weakest point was spelling. And we had a 50-word spelling test every week.
Oh, wow.
And so at night, I would be old school. I'm sitting at my desk writing each word 10 times.
Yeah.
And I wrote them on a 3x5 card, and I would have them in my pocket throughout the day. And during breaks, I would be studying these damn spelling words so that I could pass this test. Because back then, no matter what the test was, you got 2 shots at it.
Oh, yeah. If you flunk one,
you get one
retake,
got the retake, and if not, you're fired
out.
and you go home. And so I did not want to go home. So that part, the academics, was stressful for me. So I had to really, really study.
In '88, were you guys rocking those 686s, wheel guns? Or
yeah, wheel gun days, man.
Okay.
Oh yeah. We were pumping out wheel guns. Of course, we were shooting 38s.
Yeah,
but whatever. But yeah, we rocked wheel guns till 90 something. I think 91, 92.
Yeah. So when you started, that's when they had light bars on covered wagons,
sure
right?
Did. Yep. We sure did. Heck yeah, wheel guns and swivel holsters.
What did graduating the academy mean to you at 20 years old?
It was huge. For me, it was a huge accomplishment. Just the fact that I even, like I said earlier, got past the test to get in, and then to make it through everything, it was a huge accomplishment for me. Luckily, my girlfriend at the time, was a huge supporter. I spent a lot of time on the phone with her, getting her support and reassurance that it was going to work out. So I didn't do that all by myself. You know, I definitely had her support, and it was a big deal. I was very proud of the fact that I was able to do that. And when they hand you your badge, it's one of those things that you remember forever and ever.
Oh yeah. Well, I graduated the COS Academy, man, and I mean, that was in '97, and I will tell you something, man. I still remember it like it was yesterday, bro. You got married just 2 days after graduation. What was that transition like?
Well, again, my wife, she was the driving force, you know, because I was gone. Other than the weekends, she put the whole thing together and just basically said, be here. Yeah. At this date and time.
Where'd you guys get married?
We got married at St. Rita's in Tulare.
Okay.
Yeah. And, but it was not a fairy tale in that we got married and went on a great honeymoon and blah, blah, blah. I didn't have time.
Yeah.
Because the following week, I had to pack up all our stuff and we moved to Ventura.
Yeah.
And I had to show up, I think, the following Monday for orientation. And so it was a whirlwind.
Yeah.
And
were you guys did you live in Ventura?
Yeah.
Okay.
No, we were here.
Okay.
I'd never been to Ventura in my life.
Okay.
The only reason I picked Ventura because at a point towards the end of the academy, they give you a list of all the CHP areas that are going to be accepting cadets, and you can make what they call a wish list. And so you kind of put them in the order that you would like them to be considered. And the only thing I really didn't want to do is I didn't want to end up in LA. So I started with Bakersfield, Coalinga, Ventura, and a couple others. And Ventura was my third choice.
Okay.
So we got married. And then by the end of that week, we were in Ventura.
Now, when you were living down there, what city did you live in?
We lived in Ventura.
In Ventura.
Yeah,
okay.
Yeah.
It's nice down there.
It was a great place to start. The area is wonderful. The weather is fantastic.
Yeah.
There are beats that you work that are right along the coast. So
you're
driving up and down between Santa Barbara and Ventura, and you're like, this is my job, man. I get to drive up and down the coast all day.
Yeah. How did your wife handle the realities of law enforcement from the very beginning?
Well, thankfully, my wife was also involved in law enforcement.
Okay.
We actually met as police explorers.
Okay, wow.
She was a police explorer with Tulare Police Department, and they put on a dance, and I met her at the dance.
Wow, man. So you guys been together for over 40-something years?
Yeah, it'll be 40 years this coming July of next year.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's pretty cool, dude.
Yeah, I think so. I have to agree. I think it's pretty cool.
That is cool. You know.
So that's how we met. So she was involved in law enforcement already. So, she kind of understood where we were going.
Yeah.
And how things would kind of work out to some degree, at least, as much as you can at the age of 20. She was 19, I was 20. But yeah, that's basically how we met.
Wow. What was your first patrol assignment in Ventura like? I mean, what was it like just being there in the office and all that? Was it cool?
It was cool. You know, of course, you're on break-in, and so there's that level of stress and fear that, you know, am I going to get through this? But, you know, it's a good feeling. You get in the car, and the first day or two, if I remember, with your FTO, they kind of drive you around, show you where the jail's at and the hospitals and what the beat's like. And then at some point, you get behind the wheel and start doing your thing. And luckily, you know, having the experiences that I had of being a dispatcher and being an explorer and having patrol responsibilities in the military, it wasn't totally foreign.
Yeah.
So I kind of took to it pretty quickly and pretty easily.
I was going to say, you had a lot more experience than the Joe Schmo that just going in blind.
Exactly. And so, it was a pretty good experience. Again, the academic side of it, writing reports and those sort of things, that was my weak point. So I had to spend more time doing that. But making contact with people, talking to people, officer safety, all those things, you know, that didn't take me but a few minutes to get down right.
Yeah. How did Ventura prepare you for Bakersfield and then Visalia?
There's no preparing for Bakersfield. Let me tell you what.
Dude. Hey, I don't know about you, but, you know, we were just talking about this. If it's 100 degrees here, it's 110 in Bakersfield.
Oh, my God.
All right. And so when I was with Amtrak, my boss would make me drive down to Bakersfield all the time, right? I would get to that Amtrak station in Bakersfield. I was never more there for 15 minutes until I already had somebody in handcuffs.
Oh, I can imagine.
And what's interesting about there is no jail in Bakersfield to book.
Really?
You have to go out to Lerdo to book.
Oh, okay. Oh,
right?
yeah,
the Lerdo jail.
Yeah.
And so the first time I hooked somebody up, I called Bakersfield PD and I was like, hey, I don't really need any help. I got the guy in handcuffs, but could you have an officer come by and show me where the jail's at? And the dispatcher laughed, right? and I go, hey, I'm a longtime cop. I don't know where anything's at.
Yeah.
And so she goes, yeah, I got a cop around the corner. So this guy rolls up, and he was so cool, man. He gets out of his car, and he goes, hey, brother. And he's like, I hate to say this, man. We don't have a jail here. And he's like, you got to go book in Lerdo, dude. But what was cool, this is when you know everything's so connected.
Yeah.
As a PI, right when I retired, I was patrolling some orange groves by the Lerdo jail.
Really?
So I knew where it was at.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And so it all connects. But yeah, dude, Bakersfield, man. Yeah, how was that? How was that office?
You know, I had never been to Bakersfield other than driving through.
And how long were you in Ventura?
I was in Ventura about 2.5 years or so.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then how long were you in Bakersfield?
About 8-9 months, whatever it took to transfer out.
Hey, dude, it's what's so funny. I know what you're talking about.
Oh my God. Bakersfield was an experience. You know, I kind of assumed Bakersfield was kind of a country town with, you know, a bunch of cowboys here and there. All of East Bakersfield is county.
Yes.
And it's like being in Watts.
Yes.
It was crazy out there. It was crazy enough to the point that I said, you know, I think I'm going to go hang out on I-5 for a while.
Yeah.
And I worked the I-5 beats most of the time because I was like, holy smokes, this is nuts. Yeah. So I would usually work I-5. Back then, they didn't have Buttonwillow, so Bakersfield covered I-5 as well. So I worked, you know, Shafter and Wasco, places like that. But I enjoyed it for the most part. But, you know, it's an hour drive there and an hour drive back every day. So it makes for a long day.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. What was your biggest welcome to the job moment as a young CHP officer?
You know, probably when I got to Visalia, Visalia was a very senior office. I mean, guys here had at a minimum 15 years on. Yeah. You know, and you come in with barely 3 years on.
Oh, yeah.
And they don't want to know nothing about you. They could care less. You know, they don't want to hear what you got to say. Yeah. They don't want to be around you. Yeah. So it was definitely an adjustment to, you know, kind of start to fit in with these old timers. Not that they treated me badly. They were just like, I don't know who you are. I don't know what you think you know. I don't want you getting me in trouble.
Yeah.
You know, I don't want you causing me work.
Yes.
So you just kind of have to ease your way in and really prove to them that, hey, I'm not a total knucklehead. I am young and I am new, but I'm not that bad. And then they start warming up to you.
Got it. What was daily life like working patrol in the Visa area?
You know, life here on the patrol is actually pretty good. You know, you're close to home, which is nice. So if you want to go have lunch at home, you can. But you know, you back then when I first started here, we had 8-hour shifts. So you come in the morning at about 5:30. We have a morning briefing. The sergeant will go over anything maybe that's happened over the night, handbag any paperwork that needs to be completed, anything going on within the department that you need to know, and then off we go. You know, and usually we go grab a cup of coffee real quick, and then you head off. What I definitely learned very quickly, you know, there's not very many of us, and you're spread out pretty far.
Yeah, because you got people down in Pixley, South County area.
And I work South County all the time.
Yeah.
So you cover all the way down to Lano. And if you're working the South End, you're covering Pixley and Early Mart, Alpaugh, Allensworth, those types of areas. So you really have to learn how to do whatever you got to do pretty much all by yourself.
Yeah.
Your help is coming, but it's going to be a while.
Yeah.
So you got a big accident, deal with it, you know. And that's part of the reason why all of us came out of the academy as EMTs too back in the day, because emergency medical services were not as prevalent as they are today. So, you know, you get to a bad accident, the ambulance is going to be a while. Fire guys
you're
are
doing the EMT stuff.
So you're doing all the EMT stuff. You know, you're doing your best with the limited skills that EMT ones have to try and keep everybody alive until, you know, the paramedics and the ambulance guys can get there. But you definitely learn to do a lot of stuff all by yourself because there's just not a lot of guys that come and help. They might be busy as well. Whereas when I was in Ventura, you know, you worked a beat, and there you had a beat partner that was on the other side of the freeway.
Yeah. So
you had that help and you weren't spread out like you were either. And so, Bakersfield, you were spread out pretty far, but it just seemed like there was more of us down there than there was here.
What on a given shift of patrol and highway patrol, how many guys are working on a given shift right now?
You know, if you're lucky, 6 guys.
Okay.
Covering 75% of the county because Porterville has its own office.
Oh, that's right.
So that's usually 1 or 2 guys working out that way. But yeah, you have the majority of the county. So on a good day, you'd have at least 6. Bad day, 5. Really, really good day, you might have 10 guys. But that was few and far between.
How did patrol work change you as a person?
You know, we were talking about dealing with tragedy.
Yeah.
You know, and you see all the death and destruction that you could possibly want to see, and it can make you a little less outgoing with people. Yeah, because you're trying to protect your feelings. You know, you have to portray this air of ability to deal with these things, and you do, but you know, inside you're like, man, this is jacked up for these people. You know?
Yeah,
and so it can make you kind of want to stick with your own, because you understand each other better. You know, you try to have a conversation with someone who's not in law enforcement and they don't necessarily understand what the humor is. Why are you telling a joke about this? It's kind of a serious deal. Well, I'm telling a joke about it because that's the way I deal with it. Yeah,
and I will tell you this, you're so right. I always had, you know, and it made me, I think I was a master storyteller before of it, but once I became a cop, man, dude, just all this stuff. And I would end up telling stories and we would laugh. And it was just a way for me to basically de-stress.
Oh, yeah, 100%.
And you're so right. And then I didn't fall into that trap, and I never saw you do it too. Mm-hmm. But, you know, I would see these new cops wear a fanny pack this big. It's got 2 Glocks, 4 magazines, OC, a stick, and all this other shit in it. And then, you know, wearing a shirt that, you know, cops do it better than firemen.
Yeah.
And it's like, and I think a lot of those guys, they burn out, man. And you're right.
Yeah.
Like, there's just something about you that every time I saw you, I just remember we would always bullshit and laugh.
Oh, yeah.
And I think that's probably my favorite thing about you is because you were always so laid back. You always spoke to us in a way, like, me, Dom, Gib, all those guys, when we would see you, you were always so cool to us.
Yeah.
And, because guess what, man? A lot of the Highway Patrol dudes weren't acting like that.
Yeah, I know.
So when I got around you, or I got around a Peterson, or I got around Felix or Stoney, I loved you guys because you guys were so cool to us. And, and it's interesting, man, because you're right, man. I mean, shoot, man, I'd come across some of these chippies, man, especially the old school dudes, man, and they were like, dude, you're Vice City PD, you were pond scum, dude, compared to us.
I know.
Right?
Some of the old guys are like that.
Yeah.
You're
like, hey.
But that's what I loved about being a high patrolman is I had an opportunity to get to know so many people from so many different agencies.
Oh, yeah.
I loved, hanging out with the deputies down on the South End and with the guys from TPD and Vice City PD and rolling up on calls. And I loved that part of the job.
I will tell you this, as long as I've known you, I've never heard anybody badmouth you.
Well, thank you.
Ever.
I'm very glad to hear that.
No, I'm serious. I mean, you're like, hey, when your name gets brought up, everybody's like, oh, dude, Harris is awesome, dude.
Well,
in fact, this morning, I was talking to Alex Soriano, and he was asking me who was coming on. And I said, oh, hey, man, I'm going to have Harris. And dude, he was like, dude, I love that dude. You know what I mean? And
Alex is a good guy.
And so, and I'll second that, man. You were always so cool, and so there's something to be said for just the way you carried it. And I think that for me and the guys, we all respected you.
Well,
and
I appreciate that. And I getting to know all these different people from all these different places made my career that much more enjoyable.
Yeah.
And it made it maybe a little safer because I knew if I needed help, there was going to be somebody that knew it was me and they were going to come running. You know? So, I love that part of the job.
Oh, yeah. No, you were great, man. What were the most dangerous situations you regularly faced on patrol?
Well, obviously pulling cars over is what the high patrol does, and so that's probably the most dangerous part of the job.
Because you don't know what you're walking up to.
You have no idea who that person is. It could be the soccer mom. It could be the guy that just 211 the grocery store.
Yeah,
and you have no idea. And so and it's hard to maintain that level of awareness and safety, doing it day in and day out as much as we do in terms of making traffic stops. But you really have to. You have to try and fall back on all those things they yelled and screamed at you about in the academy, every day, because all it takes is for you to lose that for just a second, and it could go really, really bad.
I've often said this, and when I would train new guys, I always said this. We almost have to unzip our fly a little bit with each person that we meet, because we can't come out of the car guns blazing every time.
You can't.
And we got to give people almost a little bit of the benefit of the doubt. And that benefit of the doubt is enough time that you can get killed.
Yeah.
And, back in the day, I know you guys had to write 5 cites a day. Is it still like that?
I think so.
It was like 5 a day, then work your crashes.
Yeah.
How did you manage fear, stress, and adrenaline on the job?
I think we've covered it a couple times. It's the use of laughter.
Yes.
And because things are going to happen, they're going to scare the shit out of you. And then afterwards, it's like when you watch a scary movie, something scares you, and then there's that giggle at some point.
Yeah.
Because you realize, okay, things were bad for a second there, but they're okay, and you kind of laugh about it. You're like, oh my God, can you believe that? I really think that at least for me and guys like yourself, that's the best way to do it is to find some level of humor.
100%.
And I realize that there are sometimes when it's inappropriate.
Yes.
To the average individual, but for us, it's not. And we're not making light of someone's situation. We're simply dealing with it in a light way.
I would tell you, what, the way you said it, I would tell you this, man. I was one of the last homicides we were out on, and I'm standing over this dead body, and I'm like, man, did you guys see Game of Thrones last night? Man, those dragons, man, they were so cool, right? And my buddy goes, Jay, man, we're standing over a dead body. And I was like, listen, bro. I was like, I'm not trying to be a jerk, but, man, this is how I deal with it, right? Because am I sad the guy's dead? Yes, I'm sad he's dead.
Yeah.
But when we go into cop mode, we have too much work to do to sit around and cry and moan.
Yeah, we're too busy.
We are. And, and I was like, plus you need to watch Game of Thrones because those dragons were awesome.
And that reminds me of something. I remember I was rolling to an accident, and I get there, and one of the guys on the ambulance was a good friend, and I hadn't seen him in a while. And we were putting the person on the gurney, and we're having a conversation about something totally inappropriate. We kind of lost the fact that we were doing what we're doing, and we're laughing, and somebody got mad at us.
Yeah.
And I'm like, okay, you were right. We probably should have kept it down low because we were putting this person on a gurney, but we hadn't seen each other in a while. And we're like, hey, man, how's it going? And I was like, ooh, wait a minute, wait.
Yeah.
But that's just how you deal with these
You're
things.
right. It's how we process it.
Yes.
And I know, I just ran into this guy. He was doing a ride along with me. Mm-hmm. And this one I was in the gang unit.
Oh, okay.
And, so we're in Tulare. We're behind the old Lucky's, and we're all lined up. There's, we're the 6 black cars, and we're ready to go, right? And we're waiting for the CI to call to tell us that the guy's leaving, right? Yeah. And so my buddy's like, dude, he's like, I got to go to the bathroom. And I'm like, hey, dude, this is going to unfold quickly. And I'm like, I don't have time. I go, so he runs to the Long John Silver's, right?
Okay, yeah.
Well, the minute he gets out of the car, the CI calls.
Yeah.
And so, boom, we take off, dude. And I go, I don't know when I'll be back, but have dinner and I'll be back. But it's so funny because every time I see him, we start talking about that.
Yeah,
and he's
course.
like, I can't believe you left me. And I'm like, no, I can't believe you got out of the car when I told you not to. You know what I mean? What role did faith, family, or personal discipline play in keeping you grounded? Probably having your wife, man, they're always bouncing off her.
My wife is definitely the heart and soul of our family.
Yeah.
And having a level of faith, and she taught me that more than anything. Having a level of faith and knowing that what's going to happen is going to happen, and God has a plan.
Yeah.
That really helps you get through the day.
Oh, yeah.
Because you know that, okay, if something bad did happen, it was supposed to.
Yeah.
And as a result of that, something better is going to come along. And yeah, that definitely got me through a lot of stuff. And then
every time I've been around your wife, just a few times, she always just seems, she's very friendly, but very level-headed.
Oh,
seems like she's just got her stuff together.
She's a squared away person.
And then she also has that look like she don't take no gruff.
She does not. She does not. Don't screw around, man. It's not going to be good. Not going to be good.
How did you mentally transition from high-risk calls back to family life at home? That's something that I struggled with.
There are lots of things that happened to me on the patrol that no one in my family knows about.
Correct.
But a lot of times I would tell a little story about the day, especially something that I thought was even like fatals or stabbings or whatever I was involved in. I would tell at least a portion of what happened. Maybe not all of it. Maybe the fact that I almost got stabbed or whatever.
Yeah.
I just talk about what happened. And I think kind of relaying the story to the family so they know, hey, this is what I do and this is what goes on, help kind of decompress that a little bit. Thankfully, I was never a person that would come home and get hammered drunk or something like that. Not that I don't like a few beers, but I was never like that. Luckily, I guess maybe I just don't have that personality that wants to do that.
Yeah.
But talking with the family and talking with friends. Decompressing after work when you're in brief or debriefing and you're hanging out and you talk about whatever took place. You guys make a couple jokes about it. You finish up your paperwork and you go home. I think that for me, that kind of worked the best. And then having the discipline to just realize that this is just how it is. These are the things you have to do. And this is what I signed up for.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. For the folks at home, so anytime I have one of these, I have the person send me their bio, and then this is how I create the questions. But you sent something where you said your career didn't revolve around one big shooting, but around countless pursuits and foot chases. What do those moments feel like in real time? I've been through them, so I know what you're talking about.
So many pursuits, whether they were a quick one around the block or miles and miles down up the freeway. What
was your longest pursuit?
Oh gosh, I think there was one that went at least 20 minutes.
Oh, yeah.
I was chasing this guy all over the county. I took it over from Tulare PD out in Joaquina.
Oh, yeah.
And
for the folks at home, that's out in the middle of Timbuktu.
It's out in Timbuktu.
Yeah.
I took it. Matter of fact, I took it over from Tulare PD and chased this guy all over the place. We were all over the roads. We were in orchards and fields. We ended up in an alfalfa field, down a ditch, and that was probably the longest pursuit that I can remember off the top of my head, because it seemed like it went forever and ever and ever. And finally, the guy crashed, and then we got him.
I tell you something. One time when I was in the gang unit, we got to chase a car to Delano. Okay. And for the folks at home, from Bicester to Delano, what, 35 miles?
35 miles.
Somewhere around there.
Yeah.
But to be in a pursuit for that long, the first 5 minutes, you're pumped.
Yes,
right?
You are.
And then it just becomes, okay, this is the way we're going.
Yep.
And but it was funny. We get to Delano, and he goes through the city, southbound. Now he gets back on the freeway. Now we're heading northbound, right?
Oh, yeah. It happens a lot.
Yeah. And so anyways, we're finally, like you said, he wrecked, and we ended up getting him.
Yeah.
But I remember that pursuit for 35 miles, it seems like forever.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
And you're right. After a while, I hate to say it, but after a while, you're just kind of like, you're bored.
You are bored. You are
just
bored.
Going up the freeway, chasing this guy. They're not stopping. Nothing's happening. Lights and sirens are going. You're just, watching traffic to make sure you don't run into somebody. But yeah, it's not like what you see on TV a lot of times, especially with the longer pursuits.
Oh yeah. No, you're right. What it is it's become such second nature to us.
Yes.
That we process it so quickly that if it's not over in 5 minutes, then we're like, more paperwork.
More paperwork. Now the sergeant's getting involved.
Well, you know what's funny now with pursuits, dude. If I say they don't even hardly chase people,
really,
it better be a heinous thing, dude. Because if it's not, you're gonna have a supervisor on the radio at about 2.2 telling you to shut it down. And because they're dangerous towards the public.
Yes,
they're dangerous towards us. Can you walk us through what's going through your mind when a pursuit very first kicks off?
Probably the first thing I would think of is, why is this person running?
Yeah.
Because a lot of them, it's from a speed, or it might be just something like,
4008. Expired registration.
So you're like, well, okay, so why is this person running? And probably on officer safety side, you're assuming it's for something really, really bad.
Correct.
And that this guy is probably like one of America's most wanted. He's got all kinds of guns and hand grenades and stuff. and you're like, okay, this is going to go bad. That was usually my first thought. And then you have all the things that you need to do as part of a pursuit. You're putting out the information, you're giving them the vehicle description, your location and your speeds, and then you're just you're kind of along for the ride, because you're going to go where this person goes. You're looking at traffic, you're looking at the situation, where are we going? Like for us, a lot of times when we would start getting close to the city, are we going to call and let them know what's going on?
Yeah.
Do we need to just call us off because we're getting close to a residential section, something like that? So there's a myriad of things going on in your head as far as managing the pursuit. It's not just driving and waiting. You're doing a bunch of stuff to deal with the situation and what's going to come down the road as well.
Yeah, I will tell you this. I remember there was a couple times that the supervisor shut it down, man, and just me and the guys were just livid.
Oh yeah,
you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I will tell you this: one thing about the highway patrol I do like is you guys will chase the car till the tires fall off.
We will.
Yeah, right.
We will. It's very rare that a supervisor calls you off.
Correct. And and I will tell you this: there were times that we had to turn pursuits over to you guys, and I'd be like, it's been turned over to the highway patrol. And then we have to go to the back of the line, right? And I'd just be like, I'm going to be so pissed off. But, I understand why we do it. And, how does the body respond during a long foot chase, physically and mentally? Because I've been in some long ones, bro, where, hey, we're winded. Yeah. The crook's winded.
Of course, again, back in the day, I could chase the hell out of somebody for a long time. It was no big deal. But, it takes a toll. And as you get older, you realize, do I really need to chase this guy?
Yeah.
But I can remember one time chasing a guy in Goshen. and he made a beer run. and I seen him running out of the grocery store with the beer. So we get behind him, and he takes off. And I jump out of the car. I was with an older officer, so I knew he wasn't going to chase him.
Yeah.
So I jump out of the car, off I go, and we run, and we cross the bridge there at Betty Drive. And he actually runs down the on-ramp to the freeway. This is Graveyards. And he crosses the freeway and into the center median, and I'm right behind him. And we I'm chasing him around the oleanders 4 or 5 times. And finally I catch him, and we fall down, and I handcuff him, and we're both just huffing and puffing.
Yeah.
And he's like, man, I'm really tired. And I go, man, I am too. I'm glad you slowed down.
Yeah.
But if you do a lot of them, it takes a toll.
It does. Well, I tell you something. I don't remember the exact day I met you, but I remember, I think we were down in Tulare, and you come walking up, and you look like central casting for Highway Patrol, man. Right. Yeah, you're tall. You got this bitchin' uniform on, not a pound of fat on you, and you got this big old smile. And I just remember like thinking, I mean, if I was a crook, I would have think twice about fighting you, man. But yeah, I mean, you clear. And there was something about Highway Patrol. I don't know what it is, but most of the guys are tall.
There are a lot of tall patrolmen.
I talked about when I had Iosefa with me in the car.
God,
that's a big man.
That's a big dude.
Yeah, and
Ben's a big guy.
I don't even know how Felix did all those times because he was short. Was there ever a pursuit that you truly thought might not end safely? I've had a bunch where I thought we're going to end up having to either A, kill this dude, or B, he's going to hit somebody and kill him.
I had a couple of motorcycle pursuits that...
Yeah, those are bad.
Those were bad, and this guy was driving like a maniac. And I remember I picked him up in the county, but we ended up in Tulare. And at some point, he was headed towards the Little League area, and I knew a Little League was going on. So I called the pursuit off because I was like, this guy's crazy, and I don't want to hit some poor little kid. And I ended up picking him back up on the other side of town. I don't know how, I can't remember how I ended up finding him again. But a couple of motorcycle pursuits were never my favorite because, them guys just drive crazy, and it's hard to keep up with a motorcycle, especially if they know what they're doing.
Oh, yeah.
And you have to drive beyond what you should be doing to try and stay up with them.
Yeah, I would say something. Some of those crotch rockets, man. I mean, those guys will go 180 miles an hour.
Easy.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And our car tops out at 135.
There's no way. Yeah.
Well, as I told you, I'm a master storyteller.
Okay.
And I got a story for you.
Tell me.
So I'm in the gang unit, and we get a confidential informant that tells us that there is a hitman in town to kill some people that had possibly been giving us info, but had gotten wrapped up, and they may have. The word was that they were a snitch, so he had come here to smoke these people. Mm-hmm. And we did a little bit of research on him. We didn't know a lot about him, but we had just heard from the other CIs, like, hey, dude, this is a hard-hitting white boy.
Yeah.
He was with the, Nazi lowrider AB crew. Mm-hmm. But anyways, somehow, some way, somewhere, he ends up at the mobile home park right there by Mooney's Grove.
Okay, yeah.
So me and the gang unit, we're on the north side of the park, and we're waiting. And we're waiting for the CI to call. And finally, the CI calls and says, they just left. They're turning onto Mooney now. So I come up to the stop sign, and the minute that the car goes by, there's a hard-hitting white boy in the passenger side who we've all arrested before.
Okay.
He sees me, and I hear him. I could almost see him going, oh, shit.
Yeah.
So, but there's 5 black cars behind me. Mm-hmm. So we get in behind him. We light him up. And that field that's just south of where Shuri Jewelers and all that is.
Yes.
They drive out into that field, but this is January, and it had rained.
Okay.
So they sink down to the frame in the mud. Mm. The hitman's driving. He jumps out and he takes off. I grab my 870 because I'm thinking, hey, we're out in this field. Mm-hmm. If we get in some shootings, I want mass. I want to be able to mass.
Yeah.
So I come up to the car. That national, that's the international sound of don't do shit or you're going to get shot.
Yeah.
So I go, I get the passenger out, hook him up, but the hitman is running. But now they're running in like knee deep mud.
Yeah.
And Flaws, one of our guys, chases this dude in knee deep mud for like a quarter mile, dude. And he catches the hitman. Well, the hitman wants to fight. Well, Nate is a stud, dude.
Yeah.
And Nate cracked him a couple times in the face and broke his orbital bones.
Oh, wow. Nice.
Hooks him up, but now has to drag him through this mud. So by the time he gets back to the car, the guy looks like the creature from the Black Lagoon, right? He's covered in mud. All you can see was his eyes, right?
Yeah.
And so my supervisor comes up and he's like, all right, Jay. He's like, I want you to take him to the PD and spray him off with a water hose before you take him to the hospital. And I'm like, roger that, right? And now, dude, it's like a day-to-day, like a 40-degree day.
Yeah,
I mean,
yeah.
dude, it's freezing.
It's cold. Yeah.
So we get to the PD, I get him out, and I'm like, hey, dude, there ain't no way I can make this any warmer. So you're just going to have to stand there.
Yep.
Dude, I spray him off. Dude, and I remember as I was doing it, I was like, damn, this is going to be cold, dude.
He's all hypothermic.
And also, man, the wind was kicking up, right? I mean, just a nasty day. And I got one of the deputies with me because we were in Magnet at the time.
Mm-hmm.
And so, I'm like, don't do nothing stupid. I go, just let me spray you off. So we get him sprayed off. I get him in the car. And we get him to Quid Delta. Well, now his eyes have swollen almost shut because of the swelling. And I take him in there, and the minute he walks in, he's got mud coming out of his everywhere. And so the charge nurse runs up. She's like, is that fecal matter? And I'm like, no, it's mud. And she's like, all right. So we take him into this, the MRI room, but we can't have guns on in the MRI room. And so I had the deputy, I was like, look, I'll stay in the room with him. You take my gun belt with you. And as we're sitting there, he goes, whoever hit me, they're dead. And I was like, and so as we're talking, I'm like, hey, man, don't be talking that shit. And he's like, and you're dead too. And I'm like, I'm glad you told me that. I go, if I ever see you again, I'm not going to say anything. I'm just going to open fire. I go, and so we start talking, and he had just gotten out of prison for doing 8 years in Pelican Bay for a carjacking where he shot somebody in the face. So, I mean, this guy's a hard dude.
Yeah.
So finally they get him all situated, and we take him, we book him, and he before we took him into the jail, he's like, I remember you guys. I'll remember. Dude. And, for a long time we were worried. Well, then we finally got word he was coming from Arizona, crossed over into California, got stopped in a car full of guns.
Really?
And he got struck out. And so I'm not going to lie, we all breathed a little bit easier because those dudes, when they make threats like that, it's no joke, dude.
Yeah.
No joke.
You're right.
And so, that is, in a nutshell, is part of my story. It's like, and that would happen. And, John Q. Citizen has no concept that this type of stuff happens.
They don't.
And, it's like, hey, we're not Superman. And, this stuff affects us just like it does everybody else. But for years, man, that story that became urban legend. How did you experience change in the way that you handled chases over the years? Because I know I started to do them a little bit different, and I'm sure you did too.
Well, I would say
you become a lot more vigilant, I guess would be the word.
Yeah, you do. And I noticed that, especially as you get a little bit older, you realize what's most important and what's not.
Correct.
And like foot chases, those are bad no matter how you look at them, because someone's getting hurt.
Correct.
So there were lots of times where later on in my career, when someone would jump out of the car and take off running, in my younger days, I'd be on them, but later on I was like, okay, do I need to chase this person?
Correct.
What am I going to gain here by doing this? And am I in a situation that is good for me or bad for me?
Oh, yeah.
So you become more aware of those things, and your capabilities. And so over time, I became very choosy about what I chased and who I chased and why I was chasing them.
Big time.
Because, again, you never know why someone's running. It could be for something stupid, didn't have a license. Okay. What is that? A ticket? Big deal. But for some reason, they think they need to run from it. Or did they just do something really bad? You don't know. And so I was much more choosy about who I chased and why I chased than I was earlier on in my career.
I would tell you this. You know what? When I was a rookie, we did this all the time, man. We'd chase gangsters, go up over fences.
Oh, yeah.
End up in a backyard with a bunch of other gangsters. Now we're outnumbered. Mm-hmm. And I remember one time I was in a backyard and my partner, unfortunately, was not in the best shape and couldn't get over the fence. He started kicking boards out of the fence to get to me to help, right? And so you think, it's like, I can laugh about it now, but at the time I was like, hey, man, get your fat ass over that fence and get in here and help me because you know what? And you're right, man. When you get some years on and you get some experience, you start to going, wait a minute. Back in the day, I just walk up to people, on traffic stops and, give me your information. Years later, what I started to do was I immediately started to, hey, the only reason I pulled you over is because you don't have a front license plate. That way, if they got the dead body in the trunk, they don't think I think they got the dead body in the trunk.
And that's something I started to learn, especially, again, being out in the middle of nowhere so much of the time, you really learn to talk to people and to de-escalate a lot of the time, because, younger, you're like, okay, I can do this. I can fight for a while, Later on, you're like, this is going to hurt a lot more. So you start learning how to talk to people. You start almost negotiating just so you can keep the situation calm, because backup's a long ways away. Even for a deputy to get to you, it's not the 3-minute fight. It's going to be the 15, 20-minute fight.
Yes.
And there's no way.
Yeah.
And so you learn to talk to people, to try and put them at ease when you first make contact with them. So like you said, they're not thinking you know everything. Well, I don't know shit. That's the problem.
Yes.
Yeah. And probably what taught me that best was a situation that was probably the closest I ever came to capping somebody. It was in pursuit on graveyards, chasing his car around. Finally, the car ended up spinning out and crashing, and the guy takes off. So again, I'm out the car, I'm chasing him. We run across this field, and we run onto a dairy, and he runs into a mobile home. So that was my first thing. I should have been like, let's stop, let's wait for my partner. A couple deputies.
Because you don't know who's out in there.
But no, I didn't do that. I run into the house right behind him. So second opportunity was when I realized there were people sitting on the couch as I run by it. But nope. I didn't realize. And so I turned the corner. He's at the end of the hall, and I'm on him. And we go busting through a door, and we wrestle around in his bedroom. I'm fighting with this guy to get him cuffed up. And about the time I get him turned over, out of the corner of my eye, I see somebody coming in the room, and I'm like, oh shit. And so I turn over, and now I'm laying on top of the dude I was just wrestling, and now I'm fighting with another guy. And I'm like, this is really bad. This is a really bad situation. So now I'm tired. I've chased this guy. We've been wrestling around. So I'm like, okay, I'm gonna headbutt this guy, and then I'm gonna break leather and let him have it. And just about that time, this deputy comes through the door because he was involved in the pursuit, and he figured out where I went, and he pulls him off of me. After that, I was much more cognizant of the fact that you have to pay attention and not do certain things immediately and just run willy-nilly wherever.
Well, and think about this. If that second guy would have had a gun, you'd be dead.
I've been done. Luckily, he just was, and ended up he was the guy's brother. And so, you learn over time what not to do and what to do.
You know what, man? It's so true. Here's what happened to us, man. When we were in the gang unit, we always were running 6-8 deep. Mm-hmm. And then when you go back to patrol, you don't have that.
Yeah, you don't have that. You don't have that backup.
And you know what? We've all done stuff that, you just, in hindsight, you go, man, what the hell was I thinking? Mm-hmm. But I know there was another time, dude, we had a pursuit, and almost the same stuff, man. I'm chasing people. I'm going into backyards and doing stuff. Mm-hmm. And I remember thinking, but by this time I had enough time where I went, wait a minute, I'm not going in there.
Yeah, I'm not going there.
And back out. Yeah. And then we got the cavalry there. But you look at those times and just think, like I always say, 1 second too early, 1 second too late.
Yeah. Yep.
All the difference
Yep.
in the war.
Yep.
For you, what separated a routine pursuit from a truly dangerous one?
I think if you want to say routine, it's the little quick ones where someone's either thinking about doing it or maybe they're trying to hide something. And so it's maybe a minute or two and then they stop and it's all over. It's the long ones where now you're like, okay, what's going on here really? Why are you so resistant to pulling over? Why are we doing this? And why are you driving so crazy that, you're endangering everybody else's life? What did you do?
I would say that a lot of times too, man, they was like, we would have these guys as they would be throwing the bundles of dope out the window or tossing the gun during the pursuit, right?
Yeah.
And, you're sitting there just going, Jesus. And, and obviously the minute we see a gun come out the window, you don't think that's the only gun. You're thinking he's dumping multiple weapons.
Yep, he's got more.
And, it's so true, man, because after a while, the word complacency has killed a lot of cops.
It has. It really has.
And so I always, even when I was training guys or when I was with rookies, man, I would be like, hold on, man. Before I knew it, I would just happen to be the old dude where I was like, all right, man, let's slow this down.
Let's slow down.
Time is on our side, right?
Time is on our side.
Let's chill, you know what I mean? And I tell you, like for you with the two guys, I mean, in hindsight, you're actually lucky, man. That
100%.
Or even think about this, not even a gun, a knife.
Yeah.
As you're fighting one, somebody
Could have
comes
been
in.
anything.
When it went from a chase to the hands-on combat, how fast did things go bad, or how fast did they change when you were in that situation?
When you got to go hands-on, the quicker you can move and the faster and harder you can hit, the sooner it's over.
Yes.
And that was always my mentality, because I avoided going hands-on because it's a lot of paperwork.
Yeah.
And someone's going to get hurt, and sometimes it's you. But the quickest way to end it is just to go balls out.
Yes.
Right there and then. And that way you can, at the very least, overwhelm the individual to the point that you can take control, and then it's over. I
would tell you something so true, man. I did freestyle wrestling. So I would always pick people up and slam them and take them to the ground, like, suplex, right?
Yeah.
But when people's head hit concrete, it normally splits them open.
Yeah,
and so, I would get yelled at. Hey,
trouble,
what's going on? But it's so true, man. When you're fighting for your life, or you're in a real situation fighting a very dangerous suspect, I've told multiple supervisors, there ain't no rules in a fight.
Exactly.
And I'm like, listen, man, I'm not out here trying to hurt people, but I'm going to tell you something. This dude was telling us he was going to kill us. He tried to pull a gun out of somebody's holster, or he was doing something. And I've told multiple supervisors, I do not care about this dude.
Yeah.
I'm going home.
Yeah,
and you know what? If you got something to write me up, then write me up, because guess what? In the final analysis of all this, do we want the suspects being hauled off in the ambulance, or do you want the cops being hauled off in the ambulance? That's how quickly it goes.
Yeah.
And and I had some bosses really fire up on me, man. And I would be like, hey, dude, I'm not going to apologize. I did this because it was warranted.
Yeah.
Yeah. When somebody's trying to take your head off, you're going to do what you got to do.
Yeah. The Highway Patrol is very finicky.
Oh, they don't like no use of force.
No, they don't. And they don't like use of unauthorized weapons.
Correct.
And, but on graveyards and in the evenings, when you're making contact with people, you tend to have flashlights in your hand. And they were very much against using that as a weapon. But when things go south, they go south very quickly, and you can't always transition to something else to do whatever. You sometimes and I got in trouble for that a few times. I cracked the shit out of someone because it's time to stop.
Hey, we used to say this. I illuminated the suspect, right?
Right.
But it's so true, because I would have it right here, as I was talking to people. And when people start fighting, you're not going to throw your flashlight to pull out a stick. You already got this.
You already got it.
And it's also surprise.
Yes.
Whack.
Yeah.
And I mean, many times it chilled people out.
It's over. Yeah.
But I remember one time we were in a briefing and the sergeant was like, "You guys, well, we don't want you guys using flashlights as impact weapons, right?"
Yeah.
And I said, "Sergeant," I said, "I'm going to tell you this." I was like, "It doesn't make any sense to throw a flashlight on the ground that now a suspect could pick up."
Yep.
Right?
Yep.
A lot of times, we remember the little pocket you had on your pants. If you could get it in there, great.
Yeah.
But I'll never forget, man. There was we were at the Jack in the Box on Mooney, and a guy passes out in the drive-through. He's drunk. And so I get there, and I reach through the window, turn off the car, open the door, and I'm kind of tapping him with the light. "Hey, buddy, wake up, right?" And he can just smell beer in there, And all of a sudden, he just goes, "Yeah!" And he just jumps out at me, and I went whack on top of the head. And dude, it split his head open.
Yeah, it does.
And so, now I get on the radio, "Oh, start me another unit, give me an ambulance, suspects down." And so I had an old crusty sergeant dude show up, dude. And I thought, "Oh no, man." And I was pretty new, dude. And I was like, "Oh shit, I'm in trouble, dude." And he's smoking this cigarette, right? And the EMTs are working on this guy, and he goes, "You do pretty good street surgery, Mac." And then flicked the cigarette and walked off.
That's old school right there.
That is old school.
That's old school.
But it's so true, man. It's like, again, when it kicks off quick. And a lot of times we don't have time. "Pretty please with sugar on top. Would you try not to kill me?" That doesn't work.
It doesn't work.
What was the most dangerous part of fighting two people at once for you? What do you remember of that just made you like, "Dude, what the heck?"
I remember that sense of entrapment.
Oh yeah.
That and it's my fault, but that sense of dread, oh man, this situation just went from bad to really, really bad.
0 to 60.
Yeah. And yeah, just that sense of, okay, this is going bad, really bad. But having enough sense to start to try and formulate a plan to try and get out of it.
Yeah.
I mean, did I want to shoot somebody? Of course not. And luckily in my 30 years, I never had to squeeze the trigger. But I was like, "Oh, this seems to me to be the only way to make this work out in my favor."
Well, because if two dudes jumped on you, there just comes a point in time. You're going to have to do what you got to do.
And that's where I was at.
How did your training take over in a situation like that?
You remember when the tactical officers back at the academy talked about using a distraction.
Yeah.
And that's the first thing that came to my mind is, okay, I got to use a distraction. So I remember I had the guy's arms and he was close enough that I figured if I pull him into me, I can headbutt him, daze him a little bit, long enough to let go and draw down. And so even though I'd been 4, 5, 6 years since I'd been in the academy, that came back to me.
Oh yeah.
And so the training, if you do it well, it'll prove itself valuable.
I tell you something. I think for us too, situations that would overwhelm John Q. Citizen, it doesn't do that to us.
Yeah.
We're thinking as we're doing this stuff because we've done it so many times that it almost becomes second nature. That's good in the fact that it'll keep you alive. It's bad in the fact that a lot of cops end up being pretty shitty boyfriends or shitty husbands, right? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And how long did that fight feel while it was happening? Seconds or an eternity? Normally feels like 5 hours, man.
I'm telling you, it felt forever. The level of relief when I saw that deputy come through the door, I thought I'd been in there for an hour, screwing around. And to this day, I couldn't tell you exactly how long it lasted, but it seemed like a very long time.
I tell you what, the longest fight I ever got into with a suspect was about 3 minutes in a bedroom.
Yeah.
And dude, it felt like
That's
30
forever.
minutes.
It's forever.
And and then we start to gas out too.
Yeah. Oh
right?
yeah. You can only go so long.
Yeah. We're tired. We're huffing and puffing. And that's why when I got in those situations, I got mad dog mean, dude. I mean, I was a velociraptor, dude.
Yeah.
And, and it kept me alive. But there was many times, man, we got written up for it because guess what?
Yeah.
And I would be like, hey, I'll tell you what I did, man. I would rather, it's that old thing. Hey, I'd rather get written up than be dead.
Yeah, exactly.
When it was finally over, What was that emotional dump like for you? A lot of times I would just feel like totally exhausted.
Oh, I was pooped. I was absolutely, well, along with the fighting and the running and then the emotional, the adrenaline, I was pooped. If I remember, I think my partner took one of the guys to jail, and somebody else took the other guy to jail because I was done.
Yeah.
I was done. And of course, I needed to sit down with the sergeant and start doing some paperwork and going over what all happened.
Yeah.
But yeah, I was spent for the rest of the night.
Yeah. And you know what? And I could tell you something. There was many times things happened. The cool sergeants would do this.
Mm-hmm.
Hey man, come in early and start getting your paperwork done.
Yeah.
The bad sergeant
Yeah.
would be like, work the rest of your shift and
Yeah,
do
yeah,
this
you
whenever
gotta
you
call
can.
waiting.
And I'd be like, come on, dude. And
Yeah.
you know what? And it's sad because when you get in those crazy stuff, you're not going to be writing some small report. You're going to be going into some serious detail, and it takes time.
It does.
You know what I mean?
It takes a lot of time.
Did that incident change how you approached future chases?
Oh,
I
yeah.
bet it did.
Yeah, like we said earlier. Now, after that, I started really evaluating what I was doing at the time I was doing it, and did I need to go in a different direction? Is there some way I could do this better? Should I wait, for some backup or my partner to get there? So yeah, it definitely gives you an education, and hopefully you pay attention.
Oh yeah,
and change your tactics. And I did. I changed it drastically. Even at that young point in my career, I started really thinking about, okay, how can we do this better?
Yeah, no, you handled many fatal traffic collisions. How do those scenes affect an officer differently than crimes involving suspects?
With a lot of fatals, for whatever reason, and I to this day don't know what it is, it's always the other people that end up dead.
Yes.
From someone's bad decision. Whether it was a drunk driving or speeding or not paying attention, it almost always seems like it's the
drunk never gets hurt. I don't know why. Somebody said because they're already relaxed.
Yeah, I heard that too. I don't know if that's part of it, but yeah, it's always the other person. And you just when I hate to say it, but when two quote unquote bad guys kick the shit out of each other and one of them dies, you're like, all right.
Yeah.
But when the average everyday person is just trying to get from point A to point B and they get wiped out,
yes,
you're like, God, how awful, and you think about their family didn't even get to say goodbye to them. They didn't get to say goodbye to them. It's just an awful situation, and that's when you start developing that wall of emotion or wall from emotion.
Big time.
When it comes to dealing with those, and for most of us, and I'm sure the same, especially when there's kids involved.
Yes.
Because they had nothing to do with nothing.
Well, also too, man, there's something about innocence lost.
Yes.
You know what I mean?
Yes.
And I would tell you this, man, I've worked some nasty wrecks.
Yeah.
I mean, nasty.
Yeah.
And, and I can tell you this, there's probably more than a half a dozen of them that I will never forget because they were that bad.
Yep.
And, you just see, man, that, things happen and people get chewed up.
Mm-hmm.
And, I remember one time we were working one, it was a really, really bad one, and we're waiting for motors to get there because they handled all of our fatals, right?
Yeah.
And dude, we're trying to block off this intersection, and dude, people are just pulling up. Hey, I gotta get somewhere.
Right?
Get the hell out of the way. And they have no concept of what we're looking at.
They have no idea.
And and then it's hard. Sometimes it would be hard to keep your emotion. I mean, there was many times I used to tell people, "Hey, folks, do you realize that there's dead people in this car right here?" I would literally tell that to people, and they were like, "Oh, I didn't know." And I'm like, "Yeah, well, now you do."
Mm-hmm.
And you're screaming at us.
Yeah. Because you're late to go to dinner or some shit?
Have some empathy, man. And what is the hardest part of working a fatal traffic collision scene?
The hardest part is always going to be kids.
Yeah.
And I can remember one that really sticks in my mind because I thought it was just awful. She was a teenager, and she had picked up her little brother from school, and they were headed back home. She was driving a little VW convertible, and she lost it in a curve and rolled it, and it killed her and her little brother. And since it was close to where they live, someone called the parents because they recognized the car.
So they show up to the scene.
They show up to the scene. The mother shows up, and I tried to get her not to go, because we had the girl covered up by then. I tried to get her not to go look at at her daughter. I said, you don't want to do this, because this is going to be the last image you're going to have.
Oh, yeah.
But I understood that too, that she wanted to go to her. And dude, she knelt down and picked this poor, pretty little girl up, and all this blood just came pouring out.
Oh, yeah, dude.
It just a horrific scene. And the emotion and it's just awful.
Oh, yeah.
And those are the things you see, especially with kids that are involved in these things. And I way more than I want to remember in terms of accidents with kids. Those are the worst.
Oh, yeah.
Not that fatals with adults is less tragic, but again, they're kids. Their innocence is lost, and their families are devastated. No parent wants to go see that.
Oh no, I know.
And you got to deal with that. And you have a job to do still. I still needed to do my thing and investigate this accident so that I could try and explain to them what happened, even though it's not going to make a difference. And it's difficult.
Dude, we had, I think like a 3-year-old that got backed over by like a big lifted vehicle.
Yes.
And dude,
Yes.
it devastated. I mean, one of our cops, she quit being a cop over
Yeah.
it. And, God bless her, because she was like, I got kids the same age.
Yeah.
And, it's stuff like that, bro, that, we will never forget these things.
No,
You know what I mean?
No.
How did you compartmentalize tragedy when you still have like months or years of work left?
I guess, I want to say you let it go and move on to the next thing, but you don't.
You don't.
You just push it down.
Yeah,
You just pushed it down and kind of covered it up. And maybe you talked about it with the guys at the end of shift. Maybe you talked about it with the guys at beers the next day. Or, I related. I would relate some of the traffic accidents to my family a little bit, just to kind of get it out there.
And you can't help but do it.
You can't help it. Yeah. How was your day? Well, this is what happened, and maybe not all the gory details.
Yeah.
But that's pretty much how I did it. But in all honesty, a lot of them, you just pushed it down and you moved on to the next one.
And here's what's sad, and I'm sure this has happened to you, and it's happened to me. We had one on a Monday, Tuesday morning, we got another one.
Oh, yeah.
And they're back to back.
Yeah.
And it just becomes this layers and layers and layers of trauma.
Yeah.
And, me and you, we got to do very long careers.
Yeah.
Think about how many dudes got forced out because of the trauma.
Yeah.
And
Yep.
I've had multiple guys look me dead in my eye and go, I'm done.
Yeah.
I'm done.
Yeah. And you can't blame them.
That's
fine.
100%. I used to tell dudes, I get it.
Yeah.
I understand
Yep.
it. And if you want to go do something else, God bless you, man.
Yeah.
Because guess what? Law enforcement's not the only gig going.
No, sure isn't.
But it's sad, because I just think that there's a lot of people. You can watch it on TV and you can watch it in the movies. But man, bro, when it's you there, I've seen this career chew up a ton of people.
Yep.
I know you have too.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I think maybe something that's maybe better now than it was in our day is the department's willingness to cover therapy.
Oh, yeah.
Go to see a counselor or peer support groups
Yeah.
within the department. That really wasn't a thing for us. And I remember one time I stopped to help a disabled motorist right here on 198, and she happened to be a therapist. And so we're chit-chatting, waiting for the tow truck, and she says, hey, does your department offer, some type of therapy after traffic accidents that involve fatals? And I was like, no, they don't. She's like, nothing at all. I go, no. If an officer's involved in a shooting, then there's usually some type of thing they can go to. But as far as handling traffic accidents and fatals, no. She's like, oh my God, how do you handle that? I'm like, well, I don't know. I don't want to say we just do, but we just do.
And I would tell you this. When I got into my OIS, they had me go to Fresno. I did one hour session with the psychologist, and supposedly that's supposed to make you all better, right? But you think, and it's like, I look back on it now, I think, there was always this negative connotation if you had to go speak to the psychologist.
Yep.
But I will tell you this, man. I think, I brought this up many times. I think there should be a full-time psychologist at the PD. I think the subs should have one. I think if you want to go see somebody, because I think it would prolong careers.
Yeah, I think so.
And I just think that We're not Terminators. We're not robots. And I just think there comes a point in time to where people process things differently.
Yes.
And are there certain crash scenes that never leave you, no matter how much time has passed?
Yeah. I mean, I don't remember all of them, of course. I took thousands of accidents, but there are a few, almost always fatals, that I remember for one reason or another, the situation, the circumstances, the parties involved. There's a few accidents I remember that were kind of comedic in one way or another. I remember some of those. But definitely the fatals, they stick with you because they have the most impact on your psyche.
Dude, we were chasing a guy in a motorcycle, and we got over in the industrial park, and we lose him. And I'm like, so we set up this perimeter, and I'm like, there's no way he broke this perimeter. No way.
Yeah.
So, now we start taking the perimeter and we're bringing it in, right? And I'm like, he's in here somewhere.
Yeah.
And all of a sudden we come around the corner and I see these grooves in the road and they go right towards this dumpster. And so I look in the dumpster and it's got big chunks of metal. I get down on my knee. And he had gone under that dumpster with about this much, right? There's only this much room, and he's all the way underneath it. Dude, we had to call out the dump truck to get him up.
Yeah.
And so what I tell people is this. Those are things that you don't ever forget.
Nope.
And, the stuff, how we see the finality. We've seen the finality of more lives than the average person ever will experience.
Without a doubt.
And it's gory.
It is.
And so I tell people these stories will stick with me till the day I die. And it's baggage, man.
Yeah,
it's not good.
It
and, and so that's why I think what I love about the podcast is we get to talk about stuff that we normally wouldn't.
Yeah,
right. And how did these repeated exposures to sudden death shape your view of life and safety?
Oh, life is precious.
It is.
Because it can end in an instant. And so you really appreciate the fact that you wake up every morning.
Yeah.
That your family wakes up. Because so many people, they don't get to do that anymore. And as we grow older, we have health issues.
Yeah.
Everything hurts.
Yeah.
Everything aches. You got a bunch of doctor's appointments. You get together with a bunch of old cops, and it's all about who's got a doctor's appointment coming up,
That's so true.
But, and my wife and I talk about it a lot, as hard as growing old is, it's a gift.
Yeah, dude.
Because there's a lot of people that don't get to grow old.
Dude, you're so right. I'm writing a book right now, and...
Wait, you write books?
Yeah. But I'm writing a book right now. I got 3 buddies that I grew up with that are graveyard dead because of booze and drugs, right?
Yeah.
And, what is life? Life is choices, right?
Yeah.
And, we made a choice of service. And so, I was never into drugs.
Yeah.
And, but it's sad to see, and you're right, man. I mean, old age is a gift that a lot of people don't get to experience, man.
I know this older high patrolman. I think he's in his late 80s, and I was talking to him one day, and he says, Scotty, growing old's not for pussies.
It's not. It's not. My dad said the same thing.
You're right, so right.
Yeah. Because, hey, man, when you're dealing with severe health issues, man, I mean, that can really bring you down, man.
It can.
You experienced an arrestee who died after a physical struggle. What do you remember most about that moment?
I remember when it was over thinking, man, we were in so much trouble.
Hey, as Walker would say, they're going to torch you guys.
Oh, yeah. I thought, man, we are. And if that was to have happened today, we would have been.
Yeah.
I guarantee you we would have been fired and we would have gone to jail probably.
Well, walk us through what happened.
Okay. So my partner and I we're out driving between the Visaya golf course and the airport. Right there.
Okay, yeah. Out there, West Walnut?
Yes,
oh,
yes. And we're coming along, we see a car kind of half parked on the shoulder and half sticking out in the lane. And as we get closer, we can see there's a guy on top of somebody just beating the shit out of him. And we're like, what the hell? So we jump out of the car, we run up on the guy, and we take him down, and we're trying to arrest him. And he is ridiculously strong, and he's a little dude. And I got his arm behind him, and I'm trying to give some pain compliance by, twisting his arm, and his fist is almost touching the back of his head, and it ain't stopping.
Yeah.
So we're wrestling around with this, two of us. We're wrestling around with this guy for a while. Finally, we get him handcuffed, and we're huffing and we're puffing, and we're like, okay, and we're calling for backup, and I notice he's not moving anymore, and usually, when you fight with guys, afterwards they're motherfucking you and spitting and all kinds of stuff.
Yeah.
But this guy's not moving, and I'm looking at him, and I'm like, hey, he doesn't look so good. Let's get the EMT kit, and we'll give him some oxygen. Maybe he'll feel better. I take his pulse, no pulse. I'm like, oh my God. So I unhandcuff him, and my partner comes back, and we start CPR. We start doing CPR on this guy. Finally, the ambulance gets there, and they roll him up, take him to the hospital, and so we go to talk to this girl that was with him, that she's the one he was beating up. And we're like, what in God's name is going on here, So these two are in rehab together. And I don't know how long the rehab lasted, but apparently that night was graduation from rehab. And to celebrate, they go out and
score some dope.
Score some dope. So they score their dope, and they go and park out there by the golf course. Out in the middle of that field before they had expanded the golf course. And they're doing their thing, and whatever it was he had, he goes nuts. Just crazy, running around, jumping on the car. Well, she gets scared. She takes off running. He basically chases her down with the car, and they end up where we found him, and he gets on top of her, and he's just beating the shit out of her. And she said that she saw some headlights coming, and she screamed for help, and the car drove by, and then another one came, and she screamed for help. And he says, if you scream for help one more time, I'm going to kill you. Well, guess who rolled up? The third set of lights was my partner and I. And so we were like, okay. So what apparently happened is he had the coroner said it was a cocaine-induced heart attack.
Got it.
So between wrestling around with us and probably because he hadn't been doing dope for a while.
Yeah, his body wasn't used to it.
Yeah, his body wasn't used to it. So when he did his thing, it just overwhelmed his system, and he died.
Got it.
Thankfully, we had a great supervisor. And do you remember Don Gibson?
I do.
Don Gibson was the supervisor that night, and he made contact with this young man's family. And he explained the circumstances and the situation, and he kind of preempted by getting a hold of them first. And, in the end, the parents were like, we don't have a problem with your officers. We know our son. We know the problem he had.
How he was.
And he really, for all intents and purposes, they probably saved our ass. Even though we didn't do anything to the guy other than try to arrest him. You know how there's a perception and those types. Nowadays, everyone's on the side that the cops are out to get everybody. It worked out well, but I think a lot of it had to do with having a really good supervisor.
Yeah. No, I know.
But that was my dead in custody story.
Yeah. Well, I would tell you this. I had one when I was at TCSO, and dude, it's not a good feeling.
No, it's not. It's not.
What goes through an officer's head when a person in custody suddenly becomes unresponsive? Because I bet you were like, holy shit.
First thing, like I said, the first thing that came to my mind was, holy shit, we are screwed. We are royally screwed, dude. And then, of course, you're thinking, okay, what did I do wrong? What did I do to this guy that caused that? We were fighting, and I was just trying to arrest him. Did I do something to him that caused this? Because that's not the name of the game. You want to win the fight, but not to that extent.
No, you don't.
And so you're thinking of all these scenarios in your head as to what happened and why did it happen. And there's probably a little sense of confusion as well. Yeah. And again, fear, because you're like,
well, and then man, I mean, think about how many people die now from like positional asphyxiation. For the folks at home, that means when somebody's handcuffed. If they're sitting a certain way, or if they lay a certain way, what it does is it puts pressure on the cavity, and it stops them from breathing.
Yeah, they can't breathe.
How did you and your partner shift from enforcement mode to life-saving mode?
Well, that's kind of one of the things I thought was amazing. That that would take place even like in traffic accidents.
Yeah.
You're in this investigative mode, and then you realize there's people that are hurt. immediately, we went from fighting this guy to trying to save this guy.
Yeah.
And again, we luckily back in those days we had some EMT skills, and so we were able to kind of do a little more than the average officer probably, because I know most guys had CPR training and whatnot, but we have a little more equipment that we would carry with us back then to help out. So immediately it was without a thought. He was doing his thing and I was doing my thing, and it worked out really well. And so we were able to transition with no break whatsoever.
I would tell you this here in Visalia. Anytime we went to a medical aid, I love that the EMTs or fire beat us there, man, because they got all they got all the ammo bags, they got all that stuff. We don't have any of that. What kind of investigation and scrutiny followed that incident?
Well, again, with the sergeant, taking the steps that he did, it was pretty much just telling our story as to what took place, and then of course getting the information from the coroner's office. It wasn't a very long investigation at all, really.
Yeah.
Because everybody, for the most part, was pretty much on board. Thankfully, even his family. I think if they would have had some issues, we probably would have had to have gone further. But it wasn't like an officer-involved shooting where we had to go get blood tests and stuff like that. It was just pretty straightforward, really.
Did it affect your sleep, your family, or your confidence on the job?
No, but I remember I went home and I told my wife this is what happened, and her reaction was the same. Oh my God, are you going to get fired? Are you going to get sued? She was as fearful of it as I was. But once it was over, because we knew we were just trying to, and realistically, I think we realized we probably saved that girl's life too. So it was kind of twofold. It was.
Well, plus, what was good, you got a witness there.
And the fact that she was able to tell that story, if he had done something to her where she died there before we got to her, it might have been different too.
How did you process like the emotional weight of him dying?
I'd have to say that the particular circumstances, I realized that, it wasn't that we did something bad to him. It was just the situation that ultimately did its thing to him, and his life choices that caused the whole thing to be what it was in the first place. So it wasn't hard to kind of get past it and move on to the next thing, really.
No, I've been, I didn't have what you have, but we've been in so many crazy stuff where, literally I've had to say this, hey man, he made this happen, not us.
He made his choices.
What support did you receive from your department or wish you had received?
Literally none.
Okay.
Not that we asked for any.
Yeah.
And I don't, in this particular situation, not that we really needed any. Overall, the biggest support was just that Gibson took care of business.
Yeah.
And that was the biggest support, because had he not, then we would, we might have been in a different situation where we would have needed more support.
When you add up your pursuits, fatal crashes, violent fights, and in custody death, what toll does that take over time?
Oh, Jay, that's a deep ass question.
You seem like you came through it pretty good, bro.
I did. I don't have dreams.
Yeah.
And if I did, it was probably closer to the particular situation. But nowadays, I don't have any dreams about what did or didn't happen.
Yeah.
About fatals. I remember them, and I'm more than happy to talk about them. I don't have an emotional response to them when I talk about them now, for the most part. Kids, maybe. But yeah, I think I managed to deal with or greatly suppress some of that stuff to the point that I don't have an issue with all the things I saw and was involved in.
I get it.
Yeah.
Do you ever realize you were carrying more emotional weight than you admitted?
Yeah, I think especially after you retire.
Yeah.
And it takes about a year, maybe 6 months, a year. You kind of decompress, and you're not thinking that you're just on vacation. You got to go back to work pretty soon.
Yeah.
And then you start to kind of think about, all the times you did this or did that and who you did it with. But again, I think I managed it pretty well. I think I always tried to be a very relaxed individual, very calm. I think today I'm here because I was able to do that.
Yeah.
And I didn't allow it to overly affect me. I'm sure there's got to be something. I'm sure I'm a different person today than I was before I became a cop.
Yeah.
That's just the nature of the beast.
Yes.
And we'll never really know for sure because, we can't go back in time and do it over again. But I think for the most part, I think I did okay.
How did you cope? Was it always healthy, or did you have unhealthy ways?
I think for the most part, it was pretty healthy. I mean, it's always nice to get together with the guys and have a few beers and a few drinks and share stories. I never had a drinking problem. I never got into any types of drugs. I didn't start smoking.
Yeah.
None of those things. So I think having a very supportive family made it a lot easier. And I really enjoyed what I did as a high patrolman. I love being a high patrolman.
Yeah.
Despite the difficulties both internally and externally, I enjoyed my job, and I was glad I was able to go all the way to the end.
What warning signs would you tell younger officers to watch for in themselves?
I think if you start to notice yourself pulling away from people, or if your only friends are in law enforcement.
Not good.
That's not good.
Yeah.
You need to have friends outside of that. So, I think those two are probably your first indicators. Obviously, if you start getting into drinking too heavily and you're finding yourself drinking because you need to instead of want to, then I think that's your biggest indicator. But I think having friends outside of law enforcement is really important, and maybe keeping some of your old friends from back in the day, and because then it kind of grounds you into who you used to be as well.
I agree. How did your family help you stay grounded through all of this?
Just their love and support and understanding when I did have a bad day or when I was a little bit grumpy, that it wasn't just because I was mad at them about something. And we always seem to have a lot of fun in our family. There's far more good times than bad times. And I think those good times and, the kids growing up and I wish we would have traveled more early on when I was younger and when our son was younger. But when you're younger, you're trying to focus on building your life and your finances and those types of things.
Yeah.
But that might be something else for younger officers is try to enjoy your free time as much as possible. The job isn't everything.
I agree.
And it's hard to see that when you first start because you're learning so much and you're doing so much and you want to be involved and you want to promote or you want to move into a different position. So you're doing all those things. But, in the end, when you're done, it's time is all you have.
I agree.
I agree. Spend it with your family and your friends more than just work.
I agree. I used to work with guys, man, they all became like real big overtime whores. And, they got a boat and jet skis and a Harley and an ex-wife and a girlfriend and, all the stuff, right? And I was like, hey, dude, when I got to my days off, I took my days off. When I saved up 2 weeks, I would burn my 2 weeks vacation. Mm-hmm. And I think it helped me because I it's like I had that time away. Mm-hmm. And I think too many guys, they eat, sleep, live, breathe it, and it becomes very, very toxic.
Yeah,
right?
You can. So I was guilty of being really involved for a while at least.
Well, yeah, because now you're running the Explorers and you're doing all that.
Which that was, that for me, that was a good thing, but I definitely could have spent more time at home than I did.
Yeah.
But, you try and improve
Hindsight's
on that.
20/20, brother.
It is a lot.
What motivated you to become a certified department instructor?
I just like the idea of teaching and being able to do it at the academy. I thought was pretty cool. And it was just a part-time type of thing. I would go up once a month maybe or once every couple months and teach those classes. But it was a way to kind of break up patrol.
Yeah.
Because for the high patrol, there's not a ton of things you can do outside of patrol.
Yeah.
So anytime there was an opportunity to do something a little different, it was very appealing.
Yeah. What was it like being on the other side, teaching instead of being taught?
In order to teach something, you realize that you need to learn it very well.
Yeah.
And so that was something I realized that I needed to know what I was doing better than how I was doing it in the first place. and then it was nice to be in charge, or not in charge, but the guy giving the information to the cadets or to the other officers, instead of being the cadet getting yelled at. And I wasn't in a position where I yelled at the cadets, but it's just nice. And then at least for the cadets, they're like they're hungry for that information, and they want to know and they want to get to it, and that was very enjoyable.
What did you want every cadet to understand beyond tactics and procedures?
That you can't save everyone.
That's for sure.
You can't save everyone. And all you can do is your best, and whatever that equates to is what it's going to be. So just, you can't save everyone. Do the best you can, and be happy with that.
I used to tell this when I was training cops or even on patrol. I would be like, bad stuff happens, and we can't control everything. You just can't.
Yeah.
Is there a student you taught who still stands out in your memory?
I went through 2 cadet classes teaching EMT, and I was teaching the skills portion of the EMT. So they would sit with the paramedics for the academic side of it, and then they would be with us for the actual hands-on type stuff. And there's so many, I didn't have a specific one,
That's
so
cool.
no, I didn't have a specific student that stood out.
I know that you drove Alex to the hospital after Felix blew out his eardrum, right?
I did.
What did teaching give back? And I mean, how did giving back and teaching, how did that affect you personally?
It's especially, when you work in patrol, you tend to see all the negative stuff.
Yeah.
So when you have an opportunity to teach, it gives you a sense of accomplishment. And if you can help someone learn something that they want to learn to get them to a point where they want to be, it really makes you feel a great sense of positivity.
Big time.
Yeah.
How did you end up on the Central Division DUI enforcement team?
That was a long time ago. They were putting together a team, and at the time I'd been working a lot of graveyards. And again, it seemed like an opportunity to do something different from your average patrol. So they would take several guys from each of the areas, Fresno, Bakersfield, Visalia, Hanford, all these areas, and we would all meet in, those particular areas and just saturate the patrol. So it was just a way of kind of moving outside of normal patrol, getting involved in something a little special. You arrest a bunch of people for drunk driving. You get as many of those people off the road as possible, and that gives you a sense of accomplishment as well.
Why is DUI enforcement so critical in the Central Valley?
Well, we have a lot of people, and of course we're going back a ways. Maybe it's not as prevalent, but I think it still is. We have a lot of people dying from drunk driving.
Yeah.
And
I think a lot of the migrant field workers drink a lot. There's a lot of that.
There's a lot of that. Back in those days too, I remember and maybe I'm wrong, but it just seemed to be like there was a lot more bars in the county, and all over. And so you had kind of a proliferation of drunk drivers going everywhere. And unfortunately, it tended to be a lot of the farm labor folks, which granted, they work hard. They want to party. I get it, but they were dying at an unbelievable rate and hurting people. So that became a very big focus for the Central Division, was trying to get some of these people off the road.
What were some of the toughest cases you handled on that team?
We didn't investigate accidents while on the team, so most of it was just straight arrests. Like anything, when you go out looking for people, you tend to find a lot more than just what you're looking for. Drugs, guns, lots of warrants for various things. So there wasn't like any particular case that was really difficult because, again, it didn't involve drunk driving. If there was an accident, whatever units were from that particular area, they would handle the actual accident. And this is not one of my questions, but it just popped in my head right now. What's the highest BAC you ever seen somebody blow? I think I had somebody, they went to the hospital because they crashed. They were close to, God, what was it? And now I'm trying to remember.
I've seen a 4 before.
I was going to say, I want to say it was close to 5.
Yeah.
It was, the doctors were like, this person should be dead.
Yeah. There's some people that, especially alcoholics, they now get a tolerance.
Oh, yeah.
So
Yeah.
they can drink more than
They
the
can
average
drink
person.
more.
But yeah, I remember one time we had somebody that blew a 4, dude,
Yeah.
and we were
Yeah.
like, whoa.
And you think,
dude.
oh, the equipment's broke. There's no way.
Yeah. How did those experiences change how you viewed impaired driving?
For me, it just makes you want to focus more on it because there's so much.
Oh, yeah.
At least then it seemed like there was so much
it's
of
still,
it.
It's still going, yeah.
That it really makes you want to go out and just try and find these people before something bad happens.
Yeah.
And it's not that you're just trying to go and grab people and throw them in jail, but you're looking for these people that are going to hurt somebody. And like we talked about earlier, it's never the drunk driver that gets hurt.
Oh, yeah.
It's always the innocent person. So the
100%.
sooner you could run out and find as many as possible, theoretically, you've prevented people from getting hurt.
I agree. What message would you give to young drivers today about DUI?
God, call an Uber, man.
Yeah.
It's so easy.
I know.
Back
in our day, we didn't have that.
They barely had one taxi in Visalia.
Yeah.
So there's no reason to drive drunk. An Uber, even here in Visalia, even in Tulare, you can get Ubers.
Yeah.
There's no reason. They'll take you from your house to the party and back, and it'll cost you, $40 maybe.
No,
compared to tens of thousands of dollars and going to jail and ruining someone's life. There's no reason nowadays to be a drunk driver because it's so easy to get transportation.
No, I totally agree. What inspired you to start the Visalia area CHP Explorer program in 1999?
It was my experiences as an explorer.
Yeah.
I gained so much information from being an explorer, and I had really good time being an explorer. And I told myself, if I ever have an opportunity to do explorers, I'm going to try and start it. The department already had the program implemented in a few areas, but we didn't have it here. And so once we had a commander that was open to it, myself and Bob McGill, because we were working graveyards together a lot, and we started talking about it, and we were like, we should do this. And so the department already had a manual and everything, and all we just basically had to do was kind of get some details from other areas as to how they did it. And I knew that it would be something that young people who were interested would want to come and do. Because I know if I would have known about the CHP Explorers back in those days, I would have tried to have gone to them.
I would have too.
Yeah.
What challenges did you face getting it off the ground?
Money is always an issue.
Oh yeah.
Because although the department wants you to have these programs, they don't give you a fistful of money to do it.
Yeah.
And so thankfully, there were several businesses and entities throughout the communities that were willing to give us a little bit of money. And the money was used to buy kids uniforms that couldn't afford uniforms.
Yeah.
So it wasn't like we were paying ourselves or doing like that, but that was probably the most difficult part. Because again, the department had the manual, they had the training, everything was there for us to follow. It was just getting a little bit of money to get started. And then once we got started, it really worked out and worked itself.
What was your vision for that program from the very beginning?
What I wanted to do is I wanted to show kids, one, what the High Patrol was about, and two, to help them make the most informed decision they could about law enforcement and the High Patrol. And I felt that by getting involved in a program like this, they could see what we do and how we do it and what's expected of you as well.
Yeah.
From an upfront and personal perspective. And then, if they see that it's not going to be what they want, no loss, because it wasn't costing them anything to be in the program. It wasn't like they go through the hiring process and go to the academy and then get into break-in and realize, I don't want to do this.
Yeah.
Well, now you've wasted, a couple of years of your time and a bunch of money. And so this was really what I was looking for is, hey, this is what we do. This is how we do it. Is this right for you?
Got it. What did it mean to mentor your people the way you once were mentored?
That was the best feeling, to see these young folks really absorbing what you were telling them, and showing them what you do and something I love to do in the first place, and this is how we do it, and for them to be as excited about it as I was, that was an outstanding feeling, and it worked out really well.
How many young men and women went on to public safety?
I don't know the exact number, but I know there's several dozen at least that went on to the Highway Patrol, to other agencies. A few of them went into the military, because I talked a lot about that as well.
We all wanted to strangle Alex for not going to the Chippy Academy.
Well, like we talked about, circumstances, just presented themselves a particular way.
Yeah.
But Alex was the first explorer, or the first group of explorers that we have, and he and those young men and women, they set the bar. They set the bar high.
I will tell you this. He always speaks so highly of you and every highway patrolman.
Yeah.
He really does.
I know. Alex is a great person.
The prime example today when I told him, man, I mean, dude, he's like, dude, I love Harris, dude. And,
he called me. I got to call him back. So I'm just about to go in. I'll call you back.
Can you share a success story that still kind of resonates with you today from those times?
Man, I'm happy to say that there are quite a few success stories. Alex is one of them. There's a young man named Eric. He was another one of the success stories. And I like Eric's story because he really personified what I was trying to do. Eric grew up in Allensworth.
Rough area.
His parents were farm labor folks. So, when he came to us, he was 16, 17, I think. And he got involved in the program, and he just had such fire for the program. And I remember we went to Paso Robles for an Explorer competition, and he'd never been over there before. And we went to the beach, and he was like, man, this is great. And I was like, man, how cool is this that we get to do this for this young man and whoever else? Maybe they haven't got to travel very much because, his family has bills and it's hard to get from point A to point B. And he did everything we told him to do to get on the Highway Patrol, even to the point where he went and he failed EVOC one time. So he went down to San Bernardino, went through the driving school, went back to the academy and got through it. And he just, he became an officer. He made it back here to the Central Valley. He went to work up in Division. He was the El Protector for a while, driving the Camaro around.
Oh, yeah.
And now he's a sergeant.
Okay, good for him.
And, so he's a total success story. And he's a good young man, married, kids, the whole 9 yards. And stories like that and kids like that were able to do something that maybe they wouldn't have been able to do, not being in the program, getting to go places. We took a couple kids. The department put together a National Explorer team, and we went to the National Explorer competition in Bloomington, Indiana. And we took 2 of the kids from here and another 12 kids from other areas. Stuff like that they wouldn't have got to do if they hadn't been part of our program, and that makes me feel very good.
Yeah, man, and for you too. What's next for you, brother?
Well, I have, as you mentioned in the bio, I have a business I started just before I retired, which was at that time just pool service, and I've expanded to doing home inspections and pool inspections. My wife's a real estate agent. She convinced me to get my real estate license, so I did that.
Okay.
And then I work part time with the county, with the Office of Education's school safety program. They have a program called ActiveNet, which helps the schools deal with active shooter stuff.
Oh, so you were doing that with like Dominic and those guys?
Yes, all those guys. Yeah, and it's a great program, and I enjoy doing that. So, and I've got my 2 grandkids, for now at least, and just enjoying life. My wife and I like to just hang out. People talk about being an empty nester as a bad thing, and it's not. It is not. We love being an empty nester. We get to have a lot of fun and go places and just hang out and enjoy the fruits of our labor, I guess you could say.
For sure. Well, then, I know even today we were talking about it, and I saw something, your daughter's down in Vanguard, dude. I mean, that's awesome,
It
dude.
is. She's down there. She's a senior. She'll be graduating with a degree in biology and chemistry, and then she's going to apply for medical school.
Dude, awesome.
And so we'll see how that's going, And we're getting to enjoy all these things. And thankfully we made it through our careers. My wife was in corrections for a long time too, and she retired.
I didn't know she was a CO.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. She retired. She was a correctional counselor at the time she retired. And she was in for 17, 18 years.
Long enough.
Yeah, long enough. And then, she's done a few things. She opened a beauty salon. She went to esthetician school, became an esthetician. Then she opened a beauty salon for a while. She did that. And then she stayed home and raised our daughter when she was little. And now she's a running and gunning real estate agent. And she does really well at it. She's got the perfect personality for it. I shake my head sometimes when I hear her talking to some of these people because people just don't fall through.
Yeah.
And I'm like, you want to buy a house, but you're not sending in the paperwork?
Oh, yeah. You know what? I would tell you something. People told me, hey, dude, you're a people person, man. You should get into it. And I'm like, dude, there are so many realtors here in town, man. And it's dog eat dog, man.
Yeah, it is.
And, well, brother, I just wanted to tell you, man, you've always been one of my favorite highway patrol. You're a good man. You and your wife, every time I see you guys are always so nice to me. I love your son. I wish him nothing but the best.
Thank you.
You got a great family. You got a great story.
Thank you.
Always know this. You ever need anything from me, the answer is yes.
I appreciate it. I appreciate it.
I don't know if you realize that, but we almost talked for 2 hours and 40 minutes.
Did we really?
Yeah.
Oh,
in fact,
dang.
my computer died. I had a bunch of other questions, man. but
Oops.
yeah, but I had all these questions, man. But no, you know what, man? It's interesting because I reach out to a lot of people to come on the show.
Yeah.
And I have a lot of people go, hey, it's not my bag.
Yeah.
And I get that. I don't take offense to it. But what I love is I reached out to you and you are immediately like, yeah, man, no sweat. And I love that.
Well,
because I think your story resonates with people. Number one, you were probably one of the most popular highway patrolmen in this area. Everybody knew you. Everybody liked you.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
I mean, there was some guys that worked out of this office, man, that kind of hated everybody equally, man. You know what I mean? And I know you know who I'm talking about.
I know.
Yeah, but you were never that way, right?
Yeah.
And how you are right now is how you were when you were on the job.
Pretty much, yeah.
And I'll always think of you at the fair, man. Like every time we rolled
Oh my
out,
God!
man.
I spent so many years at the fair.
Yeah. How long were you the PIO?
Well, I was the PIO for 8 years.
That's a long run.
But I somehow ended up doing the fair before that for Mark, and yeah, I spent a lot of years at the fair, and then having the explorers.
Yeah.
We would do stuff around or in the fair as well too. So yeah, I bet you I spent probably 20 years doing something at the fair.
Yeah.
I always did the parades.
Yeah.
The first day parade, I always did that. So I spent a lot of time at the fair, man.
Well, you know what, man? It's interesting too. It's just like, and like we were talking about earlier, man, dude, you've already been retired 8 years.
Yeah.
I've been retired 5, brother.
I know, right?
And I don't know about you, but it feels like this.
Yeah, it doesn't seem that long ago.
It doesn't. And well, and leading up to that, what led up to you finally going, you know what, I've had enough and I'm going to retire?
A couple things. One, the retirement system, the way it's set up, by the time I turned 50, I was going to be maxed on my retirement.
Yeah.
So the only way to have made more money would have been to have promoted.
Yeah.
And I really wasn't all that interested in it. So that was one factor. The other was seeing the changes in law enforcement.
Oh, yeah.
How society wants you to do your job, and then in some ways, the lack of support by your departments.
Oh, yeah.
I could see it coming. And I knew that the old way of doing things wasn't going to work anymore.
No, it doesn't.
And in fact, if you do it, you're going to get in trouble to a great extent. And so I just said, you know what? It's time to go. My time is done.
Yeah.
It's time for someone else to pick up the torch, as they say, and do their thing.
Yeah. Similar, man, with me. I mean, I was about 6 months out from turning 50.
Mm-hmm.
And I just went in and I put my memo in and said, hey, man, the day I turn 50, I'm done.
Yeah, I did the exact same thing.
And, and it's interesting, for the folks at home, a lot of people don't know this. For us to stay on the city's retirement, they want $2,000 a month for your medical.
Really?
And I'll never forget, man, they, on my last day, I go across the street. sit down with the lady, and she's like, "You staying on her medical?" And I was like, "How much for me and my daughter?" It was going to be $1,945 a month, and I was like, "I'm not giving you a third of my dough.
Yeah.
I'm not doing it."
Yeah.
And so I ended up opting out, and I was like, "I'll go bet on me. I'll find something."
Yeah.
And it's just sad, man. And and think about this. Now in the business and even highway patrol, now you got to go to 57.
Oh, yeah.
Bro.
Yeah.
I don't know about you, but I don't know how people are going to last a 36-year career. I don't,
Especially
Scott,
nowadays.
I just don't know, brother.
Especially nowadays. It was just such a different mentality back, when I came to Visalia and you had these older guys who'd been on. That was the goal. 30 years, 30 so years, maybe 28 years. And then they were going to pull the plug. And they were all happy about it, And they've been doing their thing and they've been enjoying their career. Now, man, I don't know. Obviously, younger officers don't know what it was like before, so they don't really have a gauge. But it's so much different. And then you have to go so much longer. Man, that's a tough one. I don't know.
It is, man.
And I tell everybody I know that's getting close, man, don't stay any longer than you have to.
I totally agree. And I think, there's some dudes I know. I got a buddy of mine. He's retiring, in fact, this week. Brian Young with the Visalia PD. And I think he's got almost 34 years, man. And so
nice.
This episode will be dedicated towards him. But people reached out to me and they want to know more about everyday carry. So I brought one of my everyday carry guns.
Oh, okay.
And this right here is a Sig Sauer P228.
Ooh, that's a Cadillac,
and this is a Cadillac, right here. This is a 9mm. I like the 9mm because number one, they do the job and you don't have a lot of the recoil. Mm-hmm. Some guys like the 45s. Mm-hmm. I like this gun. For the folks at home too, what's good about this gun, I like it because it's not as big. Mm-hmm. This carrying a gun off duty is a pain in the neck.
It can be. It definitely can be.
They're cumbersome. They hit on stuff. Mm-hmm. I recently, this last week, I worked a detail and I was doing some security for some dignitaries here in town. And so I actually used my Miami Vice shoulder rig.
Nice, dude. Nice.
John Johnson, dude.
I saw that.
I would tell you folks, this gun right here, Sig Sauer. I'm a big Sig Sauer fan. We carried him my whole career.
You and Salazar.
Yes, I love a Sig. A Sig is a Cadillac of guns.
Yeah, it is.
The only downside, this is an expensive weapon. This is a $1,300 gun.
Yeah, they're expensive.
Okay. So I tell folks, if you're going to get something. If you're going to pay the money and get a proper weapon. Glock's a good weapon too. Mm-hmm. You can get that for, $500.
Yeah.
But I'm more of a Sig guy.
Yeah.
But this has got the new California compliance stuff on it. And so see this right here?
Yeah.
So when there's one in the chamber,
it pops up.
And it shows that it's red. Yeah. And so
see, I've been out so long that I don't even know what is or isn't compliant anymore with California.
Well, here's the problem. A lot of the guns are being off Rossiter. There's a lot of guns that are off Rossiter.
Yeah.
And and here's the thing about California. Every year that Rossiter grows.
It does.
And well, folks, we're going to go ahead and end this episode. But again, Scott, I'm a huge fan of yours. Always have been.
I really appreciate
it. I love your family. I love you. I love your wife. You guys are good folks. Folks, keep watching. This is episode 12. Next week, I got another guest coming in. And then also, if you can, grab a copy of that book. Hit the subscribe button. And anybody in law enforcement or prior law enforcement that wants to be a guest, hit me up. You can DM me on Facebook or even on the Street to Strategy site. But anyways, with that, I'll leave you all with good luck, God bless, and Godspeed. Thank you.
Thank you, Jay. Appreciate it, man.